From the Smith Radio Studios, it's Carrie and Brian Smith. This is Smith Radio. You can tweet at Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio. And now, your host, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio. I'm your host, Brian Smith, and
Carrie Smith.
Give you all the late breaking news of the last week, wrapping it all up, tell you what happened on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because that's when they hide the bits and nuggets of information that they won't tell you. Oh, and boy, we had a wowzer of a week. Can I say wowzer?
I think the FCC is going to get us on that. If not, Twitter will certainly ban us. Will they not?
They're doing it to everybody else, so why not us too, right? Oh, we got an incredible show set up for you guys, and there's just so much information.
I don't think we're going to get it all in. But we're going to try.
Yeah,
we're going to try.
I know we won't. I've got all kinds of.
If I look preoccupied right now, I'm sharing the show right now and telling everybody to retweet. So make sure you guys do that right now.
If I look preoccupied, I am trying to get the sound set up. We've got a special guest that we're going to bring on here in just a minute, Timothy Schwartz, who's been on with us before in the past. And he's out of Arizona, and he was able to help us, give us a lot of great information on how to become a what was the
precinct
committeeman, which anyways, it's to help to get more.
It's to help us to get the Trump people, the supporters, more power politically. Right. Because it's more than just going out there and tweeting, and more than just going out there and just going and voting.
Right, and you remember during the campaign at the end, right after the convention, where all the delegates, well, not all the delegates, but the media and the GOP threatened that delegates wouldn't vote for Trump and that they were going to overturn it and all this other stuff.
And that's actually something else, but that's the same exact thing.
Going down the same road. We want to be able to occupy the GOP and take over the GOP. We can't. Starting a third party is just not possible. It just doesn't even make any sense. But we got to take back the GOP and take it back over. And Timothy Schwartz has some great information on that. And real quick, folks, if this is the first time you've been on the show, welcome, welcome, welcome. We've had a lot of brand new folks coming on the show. This is Military Veteran Talk Radio. Back in the 90s, I was in the Air Force, and back in the 90s, Carrie was in the Marine Corps. And we've been doing the show for about 4 years now. For the first 3.5 years was all audio only, and you can still find the audio every week, the new show on iHeartRadio. Just go to Smith Space Radio on iHeart, search it, and it's right there, as well as the video here on Periscope. And we now have, I've talked about this in my scope, and I'm really, really happy. We're really excited. Vimeo, Vimeo, just like video, but take out the D and put an M.
Oh,
Vimeo.
I never really thought of it that way. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, I don't want to seem too smart or nothing, but I Googled it, and somebody on a video on YouTube said, yeah, just take the D out, put an M. Vimeo, Vimeo.com, where we'll upload all our shows, all our Periscopes, all our videos that we have. And we are very blessed to have you folks as Patreons. A very, very kind Patreon has hooked us up and taken care of us.
Oh, yes, that was so awesome.
It's
going to help us.
Yeah, I talked with Wayne Dupree this week about it, and Wayne Dupree is definitely on Vimeo, and he's excited that we're there as well. I was
going to ask you, is he excited because it's just a better platform?
He seemed really excited that it was a better platform in the sense that all the videos, they stream very well. There's not a problem with the streaming. It's a paid site, so obviously they're going to cater to you in the sense that whatever your needs are, there's somebody to call. I can pick up a phone and I can call them.
All right, and we're not going to get banned.
No. As long as you don't, if you put up Amway commercials and try and sell stuff, that's not cool. That's not cool.
I got you.
But I digress. So thank you for listening. Follow us on Periscope, right underneath Carrie's name right there, at Smith Radio, and underneath me, at Brian P. Smith. Catch us on Twitter all week long. And without much further ado, let's see if we can't hook up our good buddy Timothy. Let's see if we can get him up here. Hold on a second. I do hear the echo, Carrie.
Oh, it happens. It happens. But you know what? The algorithm that actually eliminates that will kick in, and we hopefully won't hear too much of that echo as we move forward. Sometimes it happens initially until the computer wakes up and says, hey, that echo shouldn't be there. Seriously. I mean, that sounds crazy, but that's literally how these things work nowadays.
Wow. Excellent. So we've got Timothy Schwartz on. Welcome, Timothy. How are you?
I'm doing great, Brian. Hi, Carrie. Glad to be back with you guys. What a treat. Listen, I want to talk to you about something very important today. This election is very, very different than any previous election in our history.
And you're talking about 2018, right? Not 2020.
2018 on forward.
Okay.
The Democrats are up to some new stuff, and the Republican Party is kind of going the same route they've been going. Listen, first of all, there's two parts of what I'm going to say today. So after you've heard the first part, be sure to stay tuned for the second part. And as they've said, if you haven't already done so, please share this message. I've kind of titled this thing, What the Democrats Do Right and the Republicans Refuse to Do. And I want to make it very clear, I'm not in any way slapping the Republican Party, throwing them under the bus. I'm very involved with the Republican Party. As Brian said, it's our only way forward. There's no third party option available. We need to support the Republican Party. But I want to talk to you about a real problem, because here's what happens. By the way, the reason I called that What the Democrats Do Right and the Republicans Refuse to Do is because the Democrats don't waste time reinventing the wheel, whereas Republicans continue preaching to the choir. And what I mean by that is this. Republicans have this little thing stuck. It's a sticking point where they reach out to the voter base, and they're not reinventing the wheel, because they will contact their voters and make sure they GOTV, that stands for get out the vote, and they will call you and say, have you voted yet? This year's election's very important. We need you to, get off your duff and go vote and all that stuff. And that's great. They put out, they do the ad thing where it's TV and radio, and they buy flyers and they do mailers and all, but they're basically reaching out to their base. What the Democrats have done, and it is monumental what they've done, because they've been doing this for 3, maybe even 4 years under the radar, is they've been recruiting like crazy, and they built up a campaign. They are not preaching to their base. They are recruiting new blood. Now, let's be real frank. They're recruiting a bunch of socialists. But I want to bring to your attention. By the way, I can't see my camera. Am I centered on this camera?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Doing great.
Hey, we'll let you know if something's wrong.
Hey, real quick, Timothy. We talked about the March for Our Lives being a huge.
I'm going right there.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
That's next on my list. 3 weeks ago, there was this thing called March for Our Lives in Washington, D.C. There was 800,000 young people. Some of them say they were all kids. They weren't all kids, but there was certainly
like 10% of them were
a lot
kids.
of high school kids, because the kids that walked out of class saying, I'm gun rights or whatever, the Democrats took note of those, signed those people up, and they bused them to Washington, D.C.
Right.
Now, just think about, by the way, when I say bust them, these were not school buses. They weren't even Greyhound buses. They were luxury coach.
Yeah, I saw that.
Luxury coach. Now, what happens is this. But who's going to pay luxury coach to transport high school kids to Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, they could have used yellow school buses.
Yeah, well, they didn't, because they got lots of resources. So what I want to talk to you about is, where did all that money come from? And, of course, the response, I'm sure a lot of your listeners would say, oh, that's George Soros.
Right.
Well, time out. This time around, and I'm sure George Soros was involved, but this time around, it was George Clooney. It was Miley Cyrus. It was Steven Spielberg. It was Oprah Winfrey. It was basically all of Hollywood and all of Silicon Valley. Now, this is huge news, so I really want to spread this message out and get the people understanding what is going on and why we should be put on red alert. Because the Democrats have been planning. We first saw the ugly head 3 weeks ago of the March for Your Life rally in Washington, D.C., but folks, this is the tip of the iceberg. It's much bigger than that. And unless we as Republicans wake up and get ourselves on the move, we're going to be caught by surprise because they have snuck a Trojan horse.
So how do we compete with that? You're talking about all these really high-dollar, multimillionaire celebrities that are dumping their money in it. The people that watch our show are not going to be able to combat that directly. So what do you suggest?
Well, I'm going to answer that question, but first I'm going to set this up a little bit longer because the setup, I think, is really good. I've understood what the Democrats are doing on voter registration. By the way, the March for Your Life rally, they had voter registration there.
Yes, that was a big
do it every
problem.
Rally. I mean, it's normal.
Okay.
But this was not normal, and I want to emphasize that because almost every person behind the microphone on the stage was really jamming the message of voter registration, get yourself registered to vote. And so it was different than a normal rally. But what I did as an active Republican, I took a trip down to our elections department. I live in Maricopa County in Phoenix, Arizona. Large county. And I'm on the way down there, and I'm thinking, okay, we had I got to tell you this. 2 years ago is when they took down Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Most people are familiar with that name.
Right.
They also got our elections department head, which was Helen Purcell. She was a Republican. And so I'm going on down to the elections department to get some voter registration forms, and I'm thinking, okay, the rules are you can't take more than a packet of 100. But when they got Sheriff Joe Arpaio, which was George Soros' money 2 years ago, they also got Helen Purcell, who was a Republican, and they put in a Democrat on our Maricopa County Elections Department. So I'm thinking, am I going to be limited to 100 voter registration forms, or can I ask them for more? To my surprise, I get down there, and they hand me the log sheet to sign out for the forms I'm taking. And I said, am I limited to just getting 100?
Why would you ask that?
Well, she said, she proudly announced, since Adrian Fontes, Hispanic, since he's our head chief here, CEO here, you can have as many as you want.
Oh, good.
Yeah, except that I looked down the log sheet that I'm signing on to, and it was only 3 weeks old from the top of the page. Less than 3 weeks. The top of the page was dated March 15th.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Less than 3 weeks, and I'm looking, and there are thousands of voter registrations being signed out. And we've got people, these are leftist groups, we got people taking 1,100, 1,200, 800, you name it.
Well, let me ask you this real quick, just so that we could have it on the record. Is there a rule? Is there an actual rule that prohibits you from taking more than 100? Who's the one that tells you can only take 100?
That was a policy with our Republican. Since the Democrat came in, that policy has changed. Now it's unlimited. So here's the thing. I looked at the names of these groups. They are socialist groups. They're left-leaning groups. Some of them are, I got to say, even though I can't prove it, they are from another country because they're the Mexican names with long last name, where they have two last names,
right.
Jorge Gonzalez Rodriguez or whatever, whatever. These are people that are working in overdrive on registering voters. Now, you talk to the Republicans, and by the way, I'm not throwing the Republicans under the bus, but I have been in touch with the leadership here in Arizona. And they are thinking, well, we got Trump's tax cuts, and that puts us on top. And we've got, the stock market puts us on top. And we've got, record employment numbers puts us on top. Well, guess what? That works if you're not fighting off socialists. But to tell a socialist that you've got record unemployment or tax cuts, they don't hear that. And so I'm putting out a red-hot alert that we can't just keep putting out flyers and knocking on doors
or
saying,
tweeting.
Hey, did you vote yet? We have got to get busy registering people to vote. And I want to explain that process because it's a little different for those of you. And by the way, I see Vanessa on here. I know Vanessa answered our earlier call and became a precinct committeeman. She has access, as well as I do, to all the voter registration in my neighborhood. I can see where the Democrats live.
Do you have to be a precinct committeeman to get it?
Sometimes, but
okay.
It's not true in all states.
Okay.
That's why I want to encourage your people, because if the Republican Party, and again, I love them, but if they're not going to hear the message that we are in danger and that we could easily lose this because we got big money buying this thing. By the way, those kids walking, I got to tell you this, the same day, March 24th, 3 weeks ago, that they were having the thing in D.C., I went to the gas station to pump gas. And I punched my numbers into the pump and stuck the nozzle in my tank, and I looked up, and there's a guy standing next to me with a clipboard. He's Hispanic, and he says, "Hey, hi, sir, I'd like to register you to vote." And I politely declined, but all of a sudden my heart sunk. 2 hours later, I go to the Walmart parking lot. And in the Walmart parking lot, there's a crew, I don't know, I counted 3, there might have been more, of kids with clipboards doing voter registration. Now listen, I've done lots of voter registration over the decades. Never in my life have I gone to a gas station to register somebody to vote.
So they're being
Never
aggressive.
in my life have I done it from a Walmart parking lot.
What?
But the times are different this time around. Things are much, much different. There's a different feel, and we're all comfortable because we got the tax cuts and everything else. I'm fully supportive of the Trump agenda. I've been a Trump supporter since early on. I'm not a, Johnny-come-lately type of guy.
Right.
But here's the deal. The game has changed this time around. I listen to a lot of talk radio. And by the way, I want to get on talk radio. I want to go on Fox News. I want to get on Hannity or
something
wherever.
better than
I want to get this message out.
Something better than hardball, right?
You're not going back to MSNBC, are you?
Well, I have been on national TV.
Yeah,
I was on Glenn Beck. I was on Chris Matthews' Hardball. You can Google that. But the thing is we've got to really rethink the package now. So here's what we need to do. I started to say it. I'm going to say it. Go through with it now. If the Republican Party won't get on board with this, we got to take, as citizen patriot activists, we got to take the ball into our own hands, and we got to get out there and get busy. Anybody can register somebody else to vote. You don't have to be a precinct committeeman or any of that stuff. You contact your party. You try to get some voter data that will help guide you through your neighborhood. If you can't get it, I wouldn't recommend going to the gas station or Walmart. I would maybe go to the gym or the library or, Best Buy.
Out in California,
whatever.
Out in Los Angeles, they go to, the Best Buy, the grocery store. You see them all over the parking lots in California.
Okay.
Well, let's walk through this because there might be people listening that are going to want to know exactly what. There's a lot of people out there, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm one of them. I never even heard of a precinct committeeman before I met you. So,
Okay. Well, it's very important. We can refer them to the former video, which will talk about that.
Well,
but right now, I want to talk about voter registration.
All right, so let's walk through this. You're saying that in some places you have to be a precinct committeeman or equivalent or something like that to even get them. So first and foremost,
just to get the data from the party, because the party hasn't identified you and they don't know who you are. They see
Right.
you're a registered Republican. They don't know what your intentions are.
Okay.
Once you become a precinct committeeman, you're now vetted with them, and they'll just hand over the data.
But you're saying in some places you can go and get voter registration papers, a stack of 100 of them, let's say, without even being a precinct committeeman. So it doesn't hurt to try to see if you can get them. And then
you can get them.
Okay.
Anybody can. It's like, I can give you CPR even though I'm not trained to do CPR.
True. Gotcha.
All right. I can register you to vote even though I'm not a precinct committeeman. So you do not need any qualifications. You can go down to your elections department and ask for voter registration forms, and they will give them to you. You then need to hit the streets, put on your sneakers, and get busy because we need. All right. Here's the deal. This year, I talked about George Soros and George Clooney, Miley Cyrus, Oprah Winfrey, Steven Spielberg, Silicon Valley, Hollywood. They're spending untold millions of dollars. And by the way, the Clinton Foundation has now defunct. I'm sure not all of that money was returned to the donors. I bet you some of that money, I can't prove it, but I bet you got millions of dollars from the Clinton Foundation involved in this too. Here's the deal. I want to get through with part one because I want to get into part two. I'm trying to get to the point and make this quick. But reading my notes here. Okay, so I went to the voter center and I asked for the forms, and I'm looking at the list. And I asked if I could have more than 100. So she said, you can have as many as you want. So I asked for another bundle. I took 200. And then as I'm looking over that log and trying to read the names and trying to buy some time, I said, can you give me a third pack of 100? And I'm thinking, okay, I've got 300 forms. That's kind of crazy, but I'm doing it. I then walked out of there, and I had to return because I used the excuse I need some more forms, and I asked for another 200 because I really wanted to understand what I was looking at. In under 3 weeks' time, these leftist organization had commandeered thousands of voter registration forms. I've seen them in the Walmart parking lot.
What?
I know they're busy. They're not sitting on their laurels. They're paid and we're not. Now, that's a problem. But I'm going to tell you what I think is the secret to overcoming the problem. Because everything we do as Republicans, unless you're hired by the party, is
voluntary.
It's volunteer.
Yeah.
It's volunteer.
It's out of passion and patriotism.
And how hard is it to get volunteers out the door and get them doing something? Because they live a comfortable life. But it's time to stop being comfortable because we're under real threat here. So
lose our guns, lose our First Amendment, all that.
I went back in and looked at the list again, and all of a sudden I was just under siege with, my heart sunk because I was remembering 2 years ago what they did to get Sheriff Joe Arpaio and Helen Purcell and some other one of our government leaders. And it was just George Soros money, but the threat is much bigger this time around. So here's what you got to do. How do we overcome? They're paid and we're not. I'm going to tell you, the only answer I can think of is this. Back when our country was being founded, our forefathers were under siege and unsurmountable. The British Army was marching on our soil. And farmers took up muskets and they stood against the British Army. The odds were overwhelming, but we won that fight. Why? Because of determination. I'm asking for citizen patriots to have a determination. Put your computer down, put your smartphone down, turn off the TV, put on your sneakers, put on your sunscreen, get out the door, consider this a real threat. They're spending millions of dollars. They've been planning this for 3 to 4 years. How do I know that? Well, we're going to get into part two, and then I'm going to take your questions. Part two, some of you may remember, and I hope you do, because it's something I think many of us have forgotten and we cannot forget. 3 and even 4 years ago, Obama, it's said that he ordered all of these tens of thousands of people to come across our border in groups. And they were called children at the time didn't have their parents with them.
Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Oh,
30,000 of these kids. But let's be honest.
Without
they
parents or
children.
anything. Yeah, without parents. Yeah. Yeah, I remember the problem of children coming over the border without even having parents at all with them, and then that would be the justification for getting their parents over.
They were called children. If you look at the groups, it was not children. They were 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds. There might be a few little younger ones involved, but this for the majority. This was people that were young adults. And they were called children to take your eyes off the ball. Let's put our eyes back on the ball. They came across the border. Can you tell me, either one of you two gentlemen, tell me what happened when they got across the border?
I have no idea. He just showed up and said, "Hi, I'm here."
Got a
All right,
check
listen,
and some
I
assistance.
told this to some people recently, and they said, "Oh, that's a conspiracy theory."
Uh-oh.
I said,
Put your tinfoil hats on,
Google
folks.
it. Google it. You'll see video proof.
Okay.
Here's what they did. When those kids came across the border, Obama had ordered his Department of Homeland Security and even Border Patrol to put those kids on charter buses, take them to the airport, and put them on airplane flights and fly them or bus them to strategic parts of the country.
That's not a conspiracy theory. We knew about that. We reported on that. They were sending them to areas where they felt like they had a chance to take over maybe a blue state or an area that they needed to blue up instead of red.
You got all cylinders firing. Listen, government money fed, housed, and transported those illegals to all different parts of our country where they felt like they could flip races and turn things around. That was 3 and 4 years ago. They've been planning this for years. They're now fully mobilized, and they're hot to trot. I don't know any other way to say it. They are out for blood. They're mobilized, and us Republicans are thinking, well, we got the tax cuts. That's going to buy us mileage. Well, it will. But again, we're fighting socialists that don't care about those issues. So I just really want to put the word out. Not only did our forefathers go up against the British Army with muskets, and that's the attitude we need to have. Let your heart take courage and be strong. Know that you can overcome. If you can get busy and you can recruit your friends to get busy and get this thing done, now here's what I would recommend. If you're doing voter registration, people say, "Oh, just leave me the form. I'll fill it out." I never do that.
No,
that's not going to work. Brian knows.
People procrastinate, and they end up throwing it into the trash.
That's how I get out of stuff. That's how I get out of stuff. I let them
register while I'm there. I let them use my clipboard. Then I give them their copy so they know it's legit. And then I take the original copy and I turn it into Elections Department myself. That's what you need. The proper way to do this is not just give away forms or put them on a table saying take one. You don't know where that's going, but to actually one-on-one register people,
right.
Then turn in the master copy yourself.
Yes.
Now let me get back to the original patriots going up against the British Army with muskets and winning because of determination. I'm going to put out another message. Paul Revere, we all know that name. One night, in the middle of the night, he got on his horse and he rode through the streets saying, "The British are coming, the British are coming." And people got up, they readied themselves, and they fought off the British. Times have changed since then. I am wondering, I'm sounding a Paul Revere message, and some people might even say, "Oh, change the channel, he's scaring the children." Listen, we got to be frank about this. The children might get over their fear, but I'm not trying to put fear in anybody. I'm trying to motivate you that something has to be done, and you are the answer to change right now. Each one of you listening and the people you share this video with, you're the ones that can make a difference. We are citizen patriots, again, like we were in the beginning. And here's the question. If Paul Revere were to mount his horse today and ride through the streets, would people get out of bed and ready themselves?
I don't know if I want to answer that question. I'm scared.
I don't think I want to answer.
Would they just complain about the disturbance and go back to sleep? Now, I want that question to set hard and ring true with each one of you. You can hear this message like you do a lot, and you could say, I heard it, but, it's a problem. Somebody else can do it, and you can go back to sleep. Or you can say, you know what? I've got 2 hours a night on the weeknights and maybe even 4 hours on Saturday, and I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to try to recruit somebody else. Because, listen, this election is different than any other election we've had. They thought they had the White House in November 2016. They knew they had that, and they knew they had the 2018 races where they could change Congress. They lost 2016. They were surprised they lost it.
Yes.
I want them to be surprised that they lose taking back Congress, because their first goal in 2016 was to get the White House, and 2018 to take away the Republican majorities in the Congress and the Senate and the House. So they lost 2016. Now they're sure, because they've been preparing for 4 years. They're sure that they're going to get this election in November. We, citizen patriots, have to prove them wrong.
Okay, so I have some questions for you.
Okay.
Now, you're in front of a camera right now. Brian and I get in front of a camera every week, and I've been in front of lots of different cameras, and we've stood up in front of crowds and all this kind of stuff. But I will have to admit, when I first decided to start volunteering, I would not go around and knock on a door and start talking to a stranger. And
That's a good question.
And in
I
fact,
can answer that before you even finish. Here's the deal.
I had to get Brian to come with me and say, "Dude, come with me, man. Come with me.
I got this."
And Brian had that personality and he was a salesman door to door, so I knew that he could help. But I think I'm in the vast majority of people that would be like, "Oh gosh, I don't know."
Here's the answer. When you were a teenager and you first decided you want to start dating, you went out on your first date. It was clumsy, right?
Yeah.
All right. Did that say, hey, this ain't for me. I ain't cut out for it. I can't date. No.
Yeah, but girls
you went
were
out on the second date because you learned from your first date.
Right.
On the second date, you were a little more confident.
Okay.
And pretty soon, you're asking a girl to marry you. So that's the answer. Yet when you first go out, it's going to be exactly like you described.
Uh-huh.
But you learn, okay, that's what I did wrong. The next door I knock onto, I'm not going to ask dumb questions. I'm going to, kind of play smart and intelligent, and I'm going to get to the point rather than ramble on or all those different things.
Right.
You learn, again, your first date
it's just
was
like,
probably a failure.
you've learned.
Your first time speaking behind a microphone was probably a mistake.
Right, and all three of us have learned, you don't just leave somebody your business card and hope that they call you. Just like you said, you don't leave an application with somebody and say, just make sure you fill that out and turn it in.
Because they never
We
call.
learn that will never happen, or very, very, very. So we fill it out for them or help them fill it out, and then we take it with us so that we turn it in, because we know then that it'll get done. So that's just like one example of like a million different things that you kind of learn along the way. The other question I had was, I know there is organization already set up within GOP, local GOP offices nationwide, statewide, whatever, wherever you're at, local GOP offices that could help you out. Would you do you recommend, if they're feeling like what I just described a second ago, where they're scared and they don't know what to do and they don't even know who to call, do you recommend them looking up their local GOP office so that they can maybe get some help? And then if they don't get help, then they're going to have to really decide, I'm going to take the bull by the horns here. But in the meantime,
that's an absolute yes to your question. And here's the thing. I understood because, by the way, let me just backtrack. When I talked about the federal government putting these people on buses and airplane flights, if you want to prove that out, just go to YouTube and search.
I don't doubt it. I mean, I could vouch for you saying that.
Illegals put on buses.
Right.
Just that phrase, illegals put on buses. You'll get the evidence.
Right.
And it's video evidence. It's not somebody talking. You get to see the buses, see the people on the buses. So people say, hey, lit my hair on fire and I'm false narrative. No. This is reality, folks, and we got to come to grips with reality. I'm not trying to scare your children. I'm trying to tell you that this is what they've been planning.
Well, Timothy,
for years.
look what Project Veritas has uncovered with their hidden videos, with them trying to steal the election with massive nationwide voter fraud. We thought, sure, that could happen in theory, but you've got to be a total conspiracy theorist to actually think that that's happening. And sure enough, James O'Keefe proved it. So,
but do you realize how well we are winning these elections if there wasn't this cheat, if there wasn't the fraud, if there wasn't the voter registration, if none of this, we're doing it great. But folks, listen,
it's not enough.
We knew going into 2016, we knew that Donald Trump had to beat the Democrats. He had to beat the media. He had to beat the GOP, and we knew he had to beat the cheat. And that was it. Well, now the fix is in. The fix is in like it ain't never been before.
Right. So, Timothy, about them calling up their local office to at least see if they can get help at first, and then if not, they're going to have to take the bull by the horns.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you try to work with the party as much as you can, and if they won't, then you do. Here's the deal. I'm an LD chairman. That stands for Legislative District Chairman. You know, each one of your legislators in your state, they're in a district. I am a Republican Party chairman for one of the districts in Arizona. I met with all of the legislative district chairmen this past week, and I put out this message to them. It was more concise, but I said, folks, we're in danger. 2 other people in that room said, we might be in danger. And everybody else laughed and said, okay, can we lighten this up?
So part of it is disbelief.
To get too serious. I understand you want to lighten it up, but folks, this is serious.
Yeah, but part of it sounds like it's disbelief.
Light of it, you're not addressing the problem.
Yeah.
Do contact your Republican Party, but if they just want you to lighten up, they think you're too intense, then I say, you know what? Plow forward, go forward without them, because this is going to be citizen activist.
Right.
And it's going to have to be in large numbers because they've got paid people in large numbers.
Yeah, so people can't be afraid to just be doing this out of the goodness of their own heart, basically.
When folks, if you've listened before, I kind of went through a little, give you a heads up when you do go door to door, or if you do meet somebody, be happy, go lucky, be upbeat.
Yep.
You know, I don't know. Would you
positive message?
I would suggest just dress normal.
Yep.
Don't go white shirt, black tie. You know.
No, I was thinking the bow tie, like Tucker did back in Crossfire days.
Oh, I was thinking about
Hey, if you're intimidated
Mormon
going
days.
door to door, go to the mall. Go to your mall.
Yeah.
Go to the skating rink. Go to the library. Whatever you can do, do it.
Yep, and just walk around.
Some people are intimidated going knocking on a stranger's door. If you're a single woman, I pray that you don't go alone. No. You go with somebody with you.
Sure.
But yeah, those things are very real concerns, and they're good points. But we've got to do something. We've got to do it big, and we don't have time to wait. We got to do it now because they've already started. They're doing it, and they're doing it. Here's what I would challenge you. I would challenge you, each one of your listeners, to go down to the elections department in your county. It's easy to find. Just look it up. And see if you see what I saw.
Oh, okay.
Ask to check out voter registration forms. And while you're there, look at the log sheet and see who's checking out voter registration forms.
Interesting. Yeah, that would be an interesting
and that will help you understand, no, we don't have a threat, or wow, I'm glad maybe Mr. Schwartz told us this because I'm seeing the same thing in my county as what he described.
Are these serialized application forms, or is this something you could just take one and go to your copy machine? And
No, you have to have a form. Now, a lot of people in Arizona, we encourage people to register online, so you don't even have to have a form. You can actually register with the motor vehicle department.
So you could almost go door to door with a iPad then, right? You could have them fill it out right in front of you on your iPad, couldn't you?
No, you do need the form.
The paper form.
So you can't do it online.
I'm saying if you do it online, it's with the elections department. You go to their website and do it online.
Okay.
If you're not the elections department, you've got to use the elections department form.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm glad to answer those questions. Listen, I know that this is a
one last question though, Timothy. I feel like I'm looking at this very dynamically when you're talking about thousands and thousands of registrations, and that is a problem, and it's something to worry about because of the demographics of your average Democrat is younger, somebody that's just graduating from high school or college, maybe somebody that is coming over here and has never registered before because they haven't been in America, something like that. Whereas you look at your average demographic of your Republican, it might be an older person who older than Democrats on average.
Right.
So my point is that these people may have been voting for a long time. Once you register once, you don't have to register again, right?
Right.
So my thing is would there
unless you move, get married or something, yeah.
So on average, wouldn't a Republican Party need to register people less than Democrats because they're dealing with losses due to people converting from Democrat to Republican because they became wise in their old age, or that they
like fighting attrition.
Right, they're fighting attrition. Plus, they're constantly trying to battle that. Whereas the Republicans, I almost feel like it's just as important to make sure that if they're already registered, to demand that they are, that they pledge to you that they will go out and they will vote, and that they'll vote Republican down the line and all that kind of stuff. Kind of like the MAGA 3X thing, which was don't just go and vote this November. Go and bring 3 people with you is what the MAGA 3X thing was.
Well, here's the way I would answer it. It may not be the way you want it answered, but in the past, I've been a Republican since I was 18 years old, and I'm much older than that now. I've always been a Republican. I've always voted each and every time. So for the Republican Party to spend time and resources knocking on my door or even making a robocall phone call to me is almost now insulting because it's like, I'm going to vote. You don't need to remind me.
Right.
What I'm saying is this time around, the Republican Party needs to stop preaching to the choir and telling their base you need to make sure you get out and vote. They need to reach a brand new group of people that are not registered to vote.
Correct.
And get them on board. The Democrats are recruiting not just by the thousands, but by many, many, many thousands, and we've got to do the same thing.
Okay.
I'm thinking, we think that because of the tax cuts, we're okay, but that message.
People become apathetic politically.
Twitter or social media, and you see all of the fight, the people that are telling you Trump needs to be impeached or whatever. By the way, if the Democrats win this time around,
dude,
Trump can be in office until 2020, but he will not get anything done.
Right.
I mean, he's a very active man. We know that. He might as well sleep in the morning. I'm serious. He might as well sleep in because he won't have anything on his agenda for today he can do because he's not going to be able to do anything.
Right.
If they impeach him, which you say, well, they got to do that by high crimes and misdemeanors. They got to do it according to the Constitution. That does not stop the Democrats nowadays.
No.
They will take away your guns, even though we're constitutionally protected. They will do anything, including impeach our president and not following the rules of impeaching the president.
Right.
If they impeach the president, it's not all lost because Mike Pence automatically assumes the office. And if Mike Pence gets impeached, you look at who takes it, and it's all Republicans, about 10 numbers down.
Yeah, you got Speaker of the House.
That's not the point. The point is, if they impeach Trump, we literally cannot have the America First agenda moving forward at all. We will be a boat in the middle of the lake that's out of gas.
Yeah, it'll be done.
No, I agree.
It's over.
I agree 100%. Donald Trump is a workhorse. He's out there slaying the dragons day in and day out.
Well, and he has a style of getting things done that I absolutely do not see in Mike Pence.
I don't see in anybody. I don't know nobody. I don't know nobody with that kind of pizzazz, that kind of energy, that kind of can-do attitude that I'll make it happen come hell or high water.
Or courage to kind of think outside the box and actually act outside the box.
Yes.
Let me finish up just by saying that the Republicans have to do this. It's not an if, it's a must.
It's either do it or it's over.
If somebody else has further questions, you can contact me on Twitter at Buckaroo4U, spelled BUCKAROOFOR, the letter U, not the word. By the way, I've been shadow banned because of they're silencing my conservative
We're going to talk about that.
But you can still direct message me, and I will respond. I'll try to help out. If there's media opportunities to get this message spread, I will gladly come and respond to media requests for an interview. This is desperate.
Yeah, and if anybody out there watching this has trouble getting a hold of Timothy, DM me. I'll definitely, or Brian.
You can always get a hold of us anytime, 24/7 at Smith Radio.
And by the way, Timothy actually mentored one of our audience members to become a precinct committee member who had no idea about it. Timothy walked them through it, and we're grateful for that, and she's grateful for that.
I wish it was a whole lot more than one, but I'm grateful for Vanessa.
Well, hopefully other people have done it on their own, but when you're just totally brand new, she just decided let's give it a shot and went, actually contacted you. So hopefully some people did it on their own by calling the right places and getting the right things done. So, and just to remind everybody, Timothy Schwartz you were the state GOP committeeman, right? That was responsible for censuring our beloved, dishonorable John McCain in Arizona, which I think is awesome.
It wasn't me that just censured him. I wrote the censure.
Okay.
And the Republican Party, who was largely conservative at that time in January 2014, signed on to it. And yes, we did censor John McCain. I took a lot of heat, still am taking a lot of heat.
I was going to say, you're the only one I heard taking heat for it. I'm going to give you credit. I don't care.
I wrote it, and the media, even Chris Matthews Hardball, tried to twist the words. It was
I think you did pretty good against him.
And it was a great document. Thank you for that.
All right. Excellent. Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll hear from you soon, Timothy.
Thank you so much, guys. Love you.
All right, see you.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Well, there's your Timothy Schwartz interview. Guys, get out there. I mean, I don't think it was too serious. I think we got to get out there and vote. And if, people are going to go out and vote, but then we need to recruit new members. And in order to do that, you need to hand somebody a voter registration form, have them fill it out, and say, I'll turn this in for you, and make sure you show up to vote in November. That's what it really boils down to.
Oh, man. Wow.
So, yeah, that's good information. We love having Timothy on. Make sure you guys are following him on Twitter. All right. So what do we got on the agenda for the rest of the show?
We got a lot of stuff to wrap this up. Let's get on a positive note real quick.
I think that was positive. We're going to get out there and grow the party that's going to get Trump back on track. I mean, Trump's on track. I mean, get the whole party back on track so we're not losing the House and Senate in 2018. Not going to happen because we're not going to let it happen.
All right. Well, then I'm going to make you feel good.
Okay.
Whether you're feeling good or not. But Charlie Kirk, if you don't follow Charlie Kirk on Twitter, you absolutely should, at Charlie, KIRK11. He pretty much, if you follow him, he'll pretty much, and you're Trump supporter, common level-headed kind of individual, pretty much follow you back. But he tweeted out Trump approval rating hits 50% in 2018. Obama, same date, 2010, approval rated in 49%. Trump 2018 disapproval 49. Obama same time 2010 disapproval 53. This is based on the most accurate poll of the 2016 election. Rasmussen Trump is surging past Obama and gaining popularity daily.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like that, and I think a big part of that was the Second Amendment debate. that was spurred on from this this movement, right to live or something. I mean, I'm not trying to make a joke out of it, but 17 kids died in a mass shooting thanks to liberalism, which that is something that I can politicize because I think it's a constant for the most part. When it comes to mass shootings, you can pretty much guarantee that liberalism is behind it, and so that I believe when they're attacking our rights, our natural rights, you're going to get a surge in popularity of the Republicans because of the conservatives there that are fighting for it. They're the only ones fighting for it. The other side are fighting to get rid of your rights. I have to tell you, Rush summed it up nicely. He can't believe how many people go out there and march to get rid of their own rights.
Yeah, I'm dumbfounded. And it's
blows your mind.
And a lot of these individuals, a lot of these young youths that I've run across, that I talk to, I'm shocked. Even a guy that I know I talk about quite frequently on my scopes. I call him my millennial. He's an honorary Gen Xer, but definitely a millennial nonetheless.
He is definitely a millennial?
Yeah.
Because you have another friend that actually is a Gen Xer, but he's kind of
He's mixed millennial, Tide Pod, millennial, and baby boomer tree hugger.
Oh, wow. That's a mess.
And he indoctrinated his girlfriend, who was a Christian, raised in a Christian family, conservative.
Do you know why Generation Xers are so awesome?
Why is that?
Because we grew up with the grandfathers of the greatest generation.
You know, we did. We absolutely did. My mom, God bless her heart, my mom came up with some papers and some documents, some things of my grandfather in World War II. And
when we were kids,
totally
everybody's grandparents were World War II veterans. Everybody. If you had a grandparent that was still alive,
pretty much
World War II vet. Period. Yeah. It was just a given. You just knew, and when just the way that we learned from them kind of guided us. Whereas you got the millennials, not so much. I don't know. Sorry if you're a millennial watching. I'm really sorry.
Well,
you didn't get the benefit.
I've got some millennials that are now screaming that that they're disowning their millennial status.
Oh, that's good. So they're starting to reject it. See, this is what happens. The transition from being a liberal Democrat to a conservative Republican is an actual dynamic of human nature that's been going on for thousands of years. And what happens is the millennials, who are starting to get a little bit older now,
right?
And some of them, not all. In fact, it might not even be a majority. I don't think it is. But there's going to be a chunk of that group that's going to say, you know what? I'm getting too old to be, doing what this guy's doing right now. What is it that they're seeing here? What is that?
This is the new thing. It's no more Tide Pod. It's no more Tide Pod. It's prophylactic challenge.
Oh, I'm actually getting gag reflexes right now just watching this.
It's prophylactic challenge, but recently made the Tide Pod has gone away.
She's got it on a fork. What is that?
Tide Pod on a fork? Got Tide Pod on a fork. Eating laundry detergent capsules just to get more likes on YouTube and Twitter. And now they're resorting to this new thing. I thought it was a joke. I saw the commercial or the ad on
Look how happy
the internet.
She is.
Yeah, I saw the ad and I honestly thought it was a joke.
Oh, I don't know if I can watch this.
And then when I was at work,
oh, I can't watch it.
Oh
my gosh,
some of the millennials were like, they were playing these videos, and I started watching. I'm like, dude, what is it? Is that for real?
Oh, and I can't even watch it anymore.
And all the guys I was with, they were all laughing and joking.
That's worse than like chalk on a chalkboard. Like hearing that. Watching that was like hearing that. That's bad.
Oh, hearing chalk on a chalkboard is worse than
No. What you just showed, I can't even. Like the feeling I get is as bad as hearing chalk on a chalkboard. Going.
Okay, I can understand that. So the Tide Pod thing, has that come and gone? Well, it came and people were goofing with it. Was it real at any given point in time?
Yeah, it was a thing.
It was absolutely real. There's a comedian. His name's Donnie Baker. If you ever listen to the radio sometimes, he's got a YouTube channel, Donnie Baker, and he is a comedian, I've never met him in real life, but the way that he behaves, he might be a little special. But he had a take on the Tide Pod challenge during Martin Luther King Day.
Hey man, it's Donnie Baker, and here we are, the worst Martin Luther King Day ever since 2018. On a day when we ain't even supposed to think about color, we got millennials eating this stuff. Tide detergent pods. I swear to God, on Martin Luther King Day, we got stupid people putting white loads and dark loads in their mouth. This is unchristian. I bet you Willy Wonkas and Ricky Rudd are both rolling over in their graves. 'Cause these ain't for trick-or-treating, dumbass. And I bet you within 5 years, 'cause of this trend, there ain't gonna be no Tide detergent pods left. We'll be doing laundry with Jolly Ranchers or have to throw in a pack of Chuckles. We'll all be smothered in bees. God, I hate this stuff. It makes no sense. What would prompt you to do that? Oh, I want my tongue to turn more colors than a gay gobstopper. Oh, I like the feeling of something bursting in my mouth. Well, then why don't you eat a pregnant gummy bear? Bite the head off a go-gurt.
Go-gurt.
I bet you're doing this same stupid thing. Treating these things like little Lunchables. They got the texture of an oyster. Least you could do is have some respect and code talk them on half shell. I swear to God, I remember being young. Hell, me and Scotty Winkler used to bite the blood sacks off of deer ticks. But we were just trying to look like Ozzy. Or maybe it was a dare. We weren't dumb about it. I swear to God, this is a gateway drug. This is an addiction. This ain't going away. I'll bet you in 2 years, you same people will be snorting Snuggles.
Snuggles.
But this is the only drug addiction where you can tell your dealer and your counselor the same thing when they ask you, why in the hell would you eat a Tide detergent pod? We're just trying to get clean. These colors don't run. Feel free to break off into discussion groups. State law.
Yikes.
That's,
Where'd you find that? I've never even seen that guy.
That's Donnie Baker. There's a radio show on in the morning called Bob and Tom.
Oh, is that? I recognize his voice.
Every once in a while, Donnie Baker will call in.
Okay.
He'll make a call in. And
He's really sharp.
I had to cut out some stuff.
Oh.
Folks, I'm just giving you a heads up. When he's on the radio or if I play him here, so the bad stuff's been cut out. So just prepare yourself.
He's the one that's calling when you hear the actual ringtone during the show.
Yeah,
and they pick up, and it's always him. Yeah. I was about to say that voice is a little familiar. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Wow. So, yeah.
If folks, real quick, just to give you a heads up, if you're watching this on Skype right now, or Skype, if you're watching this on Periscope right now, and it seems a little glitchy, it's not your Periscope.
Well, is it ours?
Apparently there's something. Well, here's the deal, folks. I changed all the passwords on purpose, and that's why we've never had a lockup since.
So, but you haven't done it in a while?
Well, apparently my internet erased the Wi-Fi name. So I had to go back to the old one.
Okay.
But how's that disappear? How does my Wi-Fi disappear?
We've got enemies.
I'm just saying.
We got enemies in dark places.
Breaking me down. Hey, real quick, we're going to talk a little bit about Anthony Robbins' debacle. R2W, right to walk out, folks. Right to walk out.
Yeah.
Huge ordeal that's coming up real quick. Mueller failed investigation. The Mueller investigation is really getting to be an absolute nightmare and a train wreck. We'll get into that a little bit and give you the details on that. Trump tweeting out this week, a lot of great tweets. And did you hear about the Trump Tower fire?
Yeah, there was a fatality and everything.
Did you hear about Jeffrey Gutterman? Jeffrey Gutterman is a mental health counselor.
Okay.
And apparently, who was it? Eric Trump apparently had him blocked.
Okay.
But Jeffrey Gutterman.
What do you mean by blocked? You mean on Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter.
Okay.
On Twitter. And Jeffrey Gutterman tweeted out right after the Trump fire He said, I got excited when I heard there was a fire at the Trump Tower, while also hoping there were no injuries. So what?
Wasn't that convenient?
I'm human. He spelled Trump with a capital R.
Like
little
rump.
T, capital R.
I mean to say rump, but I know his real name is Trump, but rump is in Trump, so I'm going to point out the fact that rump is a part of Trump. You can't spell Trump without rump, so I'm going to capitalize the R to show you that rump is in the name Trump, and rump means butt, and since I think Trump is an ass, I'm going to spell it lower T, capital R. It's so
juvenile.
Very juvenile. I can't even give him junior high for that. I got to go straight elementary school.
The guy looks like he's in his mid to late 50s.
He said rump.
Too much Beavis and Butthead.
He said rump. Unbelievable.
So he says, Trump supporters need to get a grip. I am less excited now, but still glad, hoping there is major damage.
Okay.
There
was major damage. Yeah. It's called a death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of injuries, including a lot. It was like a 4-alarm fire.
Yeah.
And apparently a majority of the major injuries were firefighters, first responders, and that kind of stuff, because they were up there trying to save people. And so, yeah, your wish came true.
Yeah. So Eric Trump quoted his tweet and said, and he said like a scumbag. That's the quote, said like a scumbag.
Right.
And so Jeffrey Gutterman replied, you decided to unblock me?
That's a worthy unblock to be able to say that to him.
Did you burn your tax returns?
Wow. He's doubling down on stupid.
Yeah, and then we've got
insensitive.
We've got a friend that follows us on Twitter, and I'm sorry, man. You're going to have to change your name because you just can't. It's FUCT.
Oh.
Mind.
Like expletive upped mind, but it's spelled.
No K, but with a T.
Did you know that was actually the name of a company? I swear. FUCT was a company. It was a skateboard company.
I saw somebody wearing a shirt that said EFFEN vodka.
Oh, like Effin' vodka.
Effin' vodka.
Isn't there an Effin' chicken wings place or something around here? Something? I don't know.
So anyhow,
it's FN chicken.
Oh,
something like that.
Okay. So our friend on Twitter tweeted out a couple of screenshots, and one said Jeffrey Gutterman is about to become famous. One of the screenshots said Jeffrey has 6,700 tweets in the last hour. I don't know how that's possible.
You mean he wrote that many tweets? That's not even possible.
Either that or he's got some kind of program and he's going after people. He's going after Trump.
It's got to be an algorithm, because to do 60 tweets in an hour is 1 tweet per hour. To do 6,000 tweets in an hour,
and he screenshotted that off of Twitter. So something's going on with
like 100 tweets per minute
with Jeffrey Gutterman, who is a mental health counselor. Seems like he might need some mental health attention.
There's only 3,600 seconds in an hour.
Yeah.
How do you do 6,700 tweets?
One every half second.
Somebody had to have been joking.
Right. So he re-put these up to make sure that everybody saw the hate that is coming from Jeffrey Gutterman and the left. Folks, we are up against something with the likes I've never seen before.
You know, it's interesting we talked to Timothy Schwartz in the first hour, because this kind of reminds you that you don't want these people in charge. And these are the people that end up being in charge when the left wins. So we gotta work hard to make sure that the left isn't winning.
Oh, absolutely. So
I pointed out, and people took it as a joke, and I understand why it sounds like a joke, but it's sadly true. I said that it was probably an electrical fire from all the excess wires that the FBI put into the building. That's something that could be construed as a joke, but I mean, who knows? I mean, do you realize that Donald Trump was told to get the hell out of that building as soon as the people that knew about
Admiral Roberts, I believe,
whoever it was it Roberts? Whoever it was said, "Get out of there and don't ever come back," because they had that place so wired up. It's very possible. My dad is an electrical engineer. He told me about how house fires can happen from electrical issues like that. And you have these people. Do you think that when the FBI comes and wires your building up, that trained electricians are doing the job?
Well, the union boys is something. No, I have no idea. Probably not.
Probably some guy in a black suit with a black tie trying to fish wires.
His name's Guido.
Something. I don't know.
So here's what makes this. I mean, it's sad and it's funny at the same time. But here's what makes videos like this real, because there's a lot of real. There's got to be something to the humor, a real element.
You sure you don't want me to go in?
Nah, I got it. I just gotta do it. Alright. It's the worst that can happen.
Two men, pretty good looking.
Go full screen.
Hunks of men.
You're giving them a teeny tiny little piece of screen there.
Sitting in their car, getting ready to.
So trying to make this look like they're coming out to their family, which they are, but in a different way than you think.
I'll be back in a few.
Okay.
Come on, come out with it. Your mother and I love you. Whatever you have to say, we're never going to judge you.
He's smoking a bowl for those of you listening.
I want to confide in you and Mom that I've chosen a different lifestyle.
It's okay. We got it. Come on. The tight jeans, the $60 haircut, the gym bros. You're gay. It's okay. We'll accept you for who you are. It's your freedom.
Dad, I'm not gay. I just wanted to tell you I'm a conservative now and that I value the Second Amendment and our constitutional rights. Mad, are you?
Second Amendment? Look at what your assault rifle is doing to my hand!
That is not an assault rifle. That is a blunt object which is responsible for more homicides than all rifles annually.
Fascist!
What is going on in here? Anybody need a Xanny?
Your son is a Nazi! I want the voices!
Mom, I'm 31 years old. That's murder.
Of course you'd be against murder, you racist, misogynist, bigot!
And they pan to a black guy holding a microphone.
Look at what your conservative values are doing to Mr. Whiskers! You're John Hannity! You're guns! You're louder with Crowder!
Louder with Crowder?
You have to bring violence into this home!
What's all the noise?
Your brother's political beliefs just killed Mr. Whiskers!
You see the time?
Oh my god, he turned his brother into a fucking suicide bomber!
Pans to the guy sitting in the truck waiting for him.
Why? Why couldn't you be more tolerant and open-minded like us? Why?
Pouring gasoline on their daughter, who's holding a lighter.
It's your family!
How could you do this to me?
How'd it go?
It's amazing how violent people get when you're just trying to articulate an opposing viewpoint. Fuck it. It's enough internet for the day.
I see what he did there.
Hell yes.
So I see what he did there. So he's saying that this is what it's like on the internet. Because if you have very liberal parents and you came out to your parents and said that I am a conservative, they wouldn't react that way. That's obviously hyperbole. However, that's probably about the reaction you get on the internet.
There's, and you're gonna kill me for this, but there's a woman on YouTube who's absolutely famous. Black, beautiful woman. I'll find her.
Candace Owens?
Yes.
Yeah, she's a good-looking girl.
Very beautiful. She was interviewed and said in the interview, she said it is easier to come out, and that's probably where this video came from. said it's easier to come out to my parents as being gay.
Is she gay?
Than being being a conservative.
Is Candace Owens gay?
That's what she said. I don't know. You can deduce that.
Maybe the way you worded it, I feel like you outed her.
What?
I'm just saying.
PJW outed himself. I mean, I don't know.
Wait, is PJW gay?
Oops.
Wait, what's going on here?
Don't go looking at his Instagram account. You might be upset.
Wait, is he gay? I mean, I'm not upset if he is. I'm just upset I didn't know.
I was taken back that I didn't know either.
Is PJW gay?
I don't know. He put up a picture of a dude and said true love or something.
What is Brian doing here?
No.
Brian's trolling.
Here's my point. Here's my point. My point is that they
imagine the shock.
Candace said it was easy. It is easier to come out to my parents as being gay than being a conservative, and that the family just absolutely is just torn.
That's because social justice warriors had made it cool to come out in one way and not come out the other.
Right. Well, like the video there where the dad was smoking a bowl of weed and said, "Yeah, bro, I know you gay, man. It's all good." So that's why I think maybe this was either she referenced this video or the video references her. I'm not sure. One of the two. But anyways, how are we doing on our sound levels?
Did we too quiet?
That?
I don't know. Did anybody yell at us yet?
Know.
Anybody yelling at us about being too quiet?
It just seems like I'm down in the dumps on that.
Sorry.
Test. Oh, my goodness, Carrie. I hope we haven't been like this the whole time.
Don't mock my typos. Just said he's married. To a guy? I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, Brian's talking about...
I thought
I don't know. Brian's all crazy now.
Anyways, it don't make no never mind to me. Hell, I lived in Los Angeles for 10 years.
Right. Oh, no, Brian doesn't care, and I don't either. I'm more... Look, I had a friend that came out to me, and I snapped. You know what?
You were betrayed.
Well, he didn't talk to me, he didn't approach me, and I was mad, and he didn't understand that the reason I was mad is because we had been friends for like months. Like, we had been hanging out. He was like a rollerblader, and I was a skateboarder, and we just go and like skate all over the city or whatever. And
it was during the don't ask, don't tell time.
Yeah, when he came out, I was like upset that we had become such good friends and that he allowed me to constantly say, hey, this is back when I was single, hey, let's go to a party and pick up some chicks and stuff. And he would all just be like, you can go ahead.
And I didn't.
Yes.
You didn't get tipped off by that? That didn't.
No, I just figured he just was...
Carrie, you can be like that sometimes.
I have a lot... I give people...
way too much.
So much benefit of the doubt, it's ridiculous. I'm like, hey, if he's gay... In fact, you know what? I was defending him. People are like, Carrie, you know he's gay, right? And I'm like...
How dare you?
If he was gay, he would have told me.
Right, he's my friend.
And that went on for months. And then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I'm gay. And I'm like... I defended you. No, but anyway.
Well, here's the thing, and the only reason why I bring this up is because you're sitting there watching this show and you're like, Brian, Carrie, come on. It's no big deal. And I know it's not.
It's not a big deal, but like,
the left will embrace it as if it is theirs.
Well, they
embrace that culture and says, we're the only ones that embrace you. We care about you. We'll take care of you. We love you.
They try to own it. They want ownership
own it.
of it.
They own that, and they also own minorities. They own all of it until...
They like to own minorities.
Yes, very much so. Until the moment that comes to where they're conservative.
Oh, Milo is the most hated gay man on earth.
Yes, and if you are a woman... They will own you as a woman.
They'll try to. But if you're conservative and you try to do your conservative value stuff, they think that you're
because of your white husband that forced you.
That's right. They truly believe that conservative women are enslaved.
Yes.
They really do.
By
their
conservatives.
By their master husbands or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a shame because they're the most powerful women on earth are conservative women who are married. Because they rule the roost in a way that I don't know. I'm not a woman, so I don't know how they do it, but they truly do run the show.
Right.
And they make their man believe that they're running the show.
Right.
And that's where they get all their power.
And we're cool with that.
Well, a lot of times we're too stupid to even realize it, that they're the ones making all the decisions, and they're tricking us into thinking that we're making the decisions.
Well, if you read the book, Proper Care and Feeding of a Husband,
yeah,
you'll quickly learn that men are extremely simple.
Well, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, women are more difficult. However, the book speaks directly to women and lets them know that they're the ones that are in power.
Interesting.
So run it right.
Right.
Be a benevolent dictator in your home, ladies.
No, it's true. It's true. Women, conservative women, if you're a woman and you want the maximum amount of control over your life, become a conservative, embrace conservative values, and do that.
Absolutely.
That's where you get the most power.
So this Me Too movement, we have not discussed this on this show one time.
Really?
We have not brought it up.
Now that you're saying that, I have no idea. I didn't know that we never brought that up.
I pretty much intentionally didn't. I think it's ridiculous.
You think it's a hot potato?
I don't want to. Well,
because it could be that. Like, do we want to even?
It's the same reason why we didn't bring up the posse hat thing. Well, we did talk about it a
we
little
did,
bit, but we moved on real quick.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Whatever.
Okay. So before we get, so you're about to talk about Tony Robbins, or as we call him, Anthony Robbins.
They've ensnared. I don't think they're ready for this.
I don't know if you wanted to even go down this road, but I was really hoping that we would revisit your connection to Anthony Robbins.
Oh.
And your personal story. I didn't know how. We did not talk about this prior to the show.
Didn't.
We are literally doing seat of the pants.
I mean, we could touch a little bit. Well, that does have to. It does have to do with this story.
I think you have a compelling story.
I won't get too much into it, but here's the thing.
I think he's got an interesting story. Do you guys want to hear about Brian's story? With
crush the hearts and crush the share.
Yeah, I mean, somebody hit that hard.
So here's the deal, folks. Back in right after around 2002, 2003. And I've told you many times on this show before that I was a victim. I was a victocrat. Mm-hmm. I was a self-made victim. I made myself into a victim. And a lot of people do. So as Kerry says, he was a bleeding heart liberal, didn't know, and he made his right turn. Mm-hmm. I was a victim, and I didn't realize it, and I made my right turn to accepting personal responsibility.
Which is a big part of being a conservative. So, yeah, in a way, you kind of went that direction.
Right. So,
maybe not so much I did, but.
So when it comes to victimhood status, the Me Too movement has gone full scale, all out assault, literally assault on men. This is their way to attempt to victimize or to retaliate. Retribution. They want justice. No peace, no justice. What was that chant? No justice, no peace.
Well, can you tell the audience a little bit about Anthony Robbins? Because a lot of people, I would never know much about him at all if it weren't for the fact that you said, Carrie, you've got to read this book. Actually, I don't even think it was you. You got Stephen to read it.
Oh, okay.
And then Stephen told me to read it.
Awaken
and I
the
said,
Giant
all
Within.
right. Yeah, Awaken the Giant Within. That was, that's his flagship. That's kind of like, I don't know. I'm sure he's written a bunch of books, but that's like the main thing.
He also wrote a book for the minorities. He's also written a book for women. And all along those lines, I promise you, if you were a woman and a victim and you see a book by Anthony Robbins, self-help section, that talks about women inner strength for women.
People call him a life coach. I don't even think that's an injustice to Anthony Robbins. Cause I mean, there's a lot of life coaches who are like, I didn't know what to do with my life, and
So I became
decided
a
to
coach
be
of life.
Life coach. They say those that can't do, coach.
Right. Okay. So I go to, I have an opportunity out in California. And matter of fact, this Anthony Robbins ordeal happened, I believe, in San Jose, California. Anthony Robbins has a house out there in California. Also on the island of Fiji, where they get the pristine Fiji water.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just called Fiji. I didn't know it was actually from Fiji.
If you read the back of the bottle, it says something about that.
What's the ingredients?
1 part Fiji, 100 part tap water.
Okay.
So anyway, I had an opportunity to go to his event. Now, if you've never seen an event or you've never heard about an Anthony Robbins event, the event is 3 solid days.
Wow. Okay.
12 to 14 hour days.
So this is like a major transformation.
1 30-minute lunch break.
One. What about breakfast and dinner?
Anthony Robbins is up on stage for 14 straight hours.
That's crazy.
Nobody. Just him and a microphone.
And 2 turntables?
Well, he's got visual effects. You know, there's big screens.
Oh, okay.
There's big screens and to tell stories. And then they got the music that's pumping and bumping.
Okay.
But the one that I was at, there was about 5,000 people. It was at one of the arenas. And as it was like the Cincinnati Who concert.
Wow.
Everybody, it's
festival seating.
Festival seating.
Okay.
So everybody's pressed up against the door, waiting for it to, as soon as it opens, people sprint.
You got to sprint.
To get the front seat.
You got to sprint.
Sprint.
Because they're motivated.
So all the grandmas and grandpas are all in the back row who can't hear anyways. But it is a phenomenal, life-changing experience. The only thing looking back that I kind of pull back on, and matter of fact, he even made a comment in this show that he was in, he almost puts himself in the position or puts himself in people's lives. And he allows people to put him in place of a God or a Jesus that they don't have.
That's kind of creepy.
And
that's a little bit creepy.
There's a guy that.
Are you criticizing? I mean, do you think it's a good thing or bad?
No,
thing?
it's a bad thing because it does take away from Jesus. It does take away from God. It does take away from the Bible. It's interesting
that you say that because when I read his book and listened to a lot of his speeches that we used to download on audio, I never heard him speak much about Christianity at all. So
right,
okay,
right. He doesn't.
So it's kind of like the secular motivational speaker,
right?
Okay.
And there's and I only saw this from afar afterwards, kind of going away from it. I listened to a guy named Roy Masters. Apparently, claims to be on the radio for 56 years.
Okay,
I just found him a few months ago.
I was going to say I heard of the name
6 months ago. I heard it. Okay. But he does a similar thing.
Oh, okay,
but his thing is he will tell the caller. The caller's like, I've been following you. I've read all your books. I've been following you for 5, 6, 7 years, and I just okay. Are you listening? Yeah, I'm listening. Okay. Hang up the phone and stop following me. You have put me on the pedestal.
Okay.
You've put me on a shelf. And it's no good. You've replaced what should be on the shelf, which is Christ, God. That should be on the shelf, and you've replaced me. And people do this. I didn't want to go this route, but people do this in real life. Husbands and wives can put the husbands on a shelf. Husbands that have the trophy wife, they're on the shelf. And you got to be careful not to do that.
Like some people are doing it with their politician of choice in politics. You know, people definitely did it with Obama. I know there's going to be a lot of people that watch us that are going to be upset to hear this, but some people have done it with Trump, and I think that could be a problem. I've gotten into arguments with people because they aren't even using rational thought anymore when discussing Trump, and that's a problem. Will it get your vote? Will it get you motivated to go door to door? Fine, but I just think that there's a problem with that because I don't like to think that people have devolved down to that level. But that's actually neither here nor there. But yeah, you're right. So you're saying the difference between them is that Anthony Robbins is okay with putting himself front and center.
He's okay with that in the sense that if that's what helps you to break your addiction, if that's what gets you to do what you need to do, then so be it. And a lot of times, and most people don't know this, there's a Anthony Robbins call center or life coach center.
Okay.
Where after you read his book and you go to the shows, you can actually take a class that you pay for, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking about the 3-day show, anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 a ticket.
Wow.
It's $1,000 flat out. Maybe even $1,500 flat out for the 3-day event.
Okay. And for those of you, I know a lot of people that watch may have bought and read Gorilla Mindset by Mike Cernovich.
I was wondering if you could bring that out.
Just real briefly, I'm not throwing him under the bus or anything like that, but I'll tell you this. If you've been a follower of Anthony Robbins, which I had been, or at least I was very familiar with him, I read Awaken the Giant Within, I would say what Mike Cernovich has done is put his own brand on what Anthony Robbins has been doing, which is kind of like, here's this this way of teaching you how to motivate yourself to be a better person. Whereas Mike says, I'm going to put a really over-the-top manly spin on it, and we'll just call it Gorilla Mindset. And he branded kind of like a version of what, like, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. I do think that I don't think it's plagiarism or anything like that, because I think he's made it his own thing. And for like people that want to do better for themselves by tapping into their own testosterone fueled, type of attitude,
or estrogen,
well, no. There's women out there who said, man, Mike Cernovich has been billed as this life coach for men, but I've gotten an awful lot out of reading Gorilla Mindset myself. It's actually helped myself. So even though it seems more of a manly thing, it's actually helped women who have just decided, I'm going to follow it too.
Right.
So those of you who are familiar with Mike Cernovich, there's a lot of similarities between Mike Cernovich and Anthony Robbins, other than the fact that Mike Cernovich has put that brand on that thing. So yeah.
Right. So what we're talking about here, what had happened, if you don't know what had happened, Anthony Robbins in these events, and I was a little taken back by it at first in the event. Anthony Robbins is very in your face. He's very shock, and he says that on purpose.
He does that kind of stuff all the time. It's a part of
the shtick.
Fixing. Well, his big thing about motivation, if you have a vice, a really bad vice, you're a drunk, or maybe you have a drug problem.
Even if just a smoker. Smoker and you can't quit smoking.
He's got this thing where he can like reprogram you, and it's not hypnotism or anything like that. It's kind of like a tool that he gives you to where will can overcome.
Shallow Hal. The movie Shallow Hal with Jack Black in it.
I remember the movie, but
Jack Black was a misogynist.
Okay, all right.
And beautiful, gorgeous women. That's all he wanted ever. That's all he ever talked about. And he would make fun of.
He was shallow.
He would make fun of big girls and ugly girls.
Mm-hmm.
And so Shallow Hal's buddy jumped in the limo of Anthony Robbins.
So Anthony Robbins was in the movie.
And said, I beg of you, I implore you. Somehow he got Anthony Robbins to talk to him.
Okay.
So Anthony Robbins talks to him, and it's almost like a hypnotist.
Okay.
And I don't know if Anthony Robbins knew they were going to do that to him, but they will do what they got to do to sell tickets.
Okay. All right. But I don't think he's a hypnotist. No. I think he what he does, if you read Awaken the Giant Within, is he uses science, biology, logic to get you to help. It helps you to do the mind over matter thing by getting you to understand how it actually works. Like I felt like it was a science book,
right?
With the neurology and all that kind of stuff.
So Shallow Hal gets transformed by Anthony Robbins. The rest of the movie is hysterical because he's dating Fifi from what's that stupid show? Friends? The blonde?
Phoebe?
You can tell I didn't watch the darn show.
Yeah, we watched it a lot.
So, not me. I did. I really didn't.
Yeah, that was kind of a... Go ahead.
Okay. So he was dating Phoebe, and we know her in the show. You know she's real thin and skinny. However, For the movie, we, the audience, could see that she was 600 pounds.
Like big girl.
Huge. She had more chins than Chinatown.
And if you're shallow, this would be something that's
the grossest thing in the world.
Right.
And Shallow Hal, after meeting Anthony Robbins, was madly in love with her.
Okay.
And told her how beautiful she was and this and that. And all the signs were there to trigger him to realize, but he couldn't see that she was a big girl. And she actually said, I can't be with you anymore because I feel like you're lying to me about how beautiful I am.
She couldn't believe. So she needed Anthony Robbins.
True that. Anyways, so Shallow Hal, good move. So back to Anthony Robbins. If you don't realize it, once you go to these shows, and there's children at the shows too, like young teenagers, Tony, he dropped the F-bomb.
Oh.
He will drop the F-bomb, and when he starts the show out, and he starts doing it, and after about maybe a half an hour, and be like, yeah, just give you all a heads up. I do that on purpose. That's a shock.
It's part of the hypnotism.
Yes. It's part of the shock and awe.
Okay.
So apparently, and I almost feel like this was staged. I really feel like,
but
like the Me Too movement somehow infiltrated this event.
Okay.
And it went so well for them that they couldn't even imagine that this went so right for them in the sense of, oh, we got another 6'7" giant misogynist. We got him. And
will you play the clip?
Yeah,
because I was going to say I want to say something about it, but probably better off that I say it after we see it, so that way you can really see what we're talking about. So
there's a woman at the event who gets the microphone, and she brings up the Me Too movement. Now, it's hard to hear the audio, but I'll stop it, and I'll kind of give you a heads up on some certain things that are very important. But this is what happened at the event. And like I said, these events they're meant to shock and awe most people.
I'm telling you, I've read these because my life is about helping people have new choices. So when I see them, I've read so many, thousands. Have you read thousands? Or are you going to tell me what your experience of the Me Too movement is? Because I respect all of you.
He said, I respect all of you in the Me Too movement.
Okay.
You can use the Me Too movement to be such a beautiful thing. I'm not knocking the Me Too movement.
You can use the Me Too movement. It can be such a beautiful thing. I'm not knocking the movement.
Okay.
I'm knocking victimhood. Raise your hand if you follow it.
I'm knocking victimhood.
And I'll tell you, being a sort of a student, I would say I'm a student of Anthony Robbins because of reading Awaken the Giant Within and listening to a lot of his speeches, that as soon as I heard about this and then saw the footage that the social justice warriors in the Me Too movement are totally almost fainting over.
They're gushing. Absolutely.
They're so outraged. They're gushing with lava coming out of wherever. Right. They don't get it. I mean, as soon as I heard it, I was like, from what I know about Anthony Robbins, this Me Too movement thing, the way it's gone, where it has gone to, is something that he has to work to combat. In fact, his message, Brian, you tell me, does Anthony Robbins's message for what he does for a living when he's trying to help people, is it in any way compatible with the Me Too movement?
No.
It's not compatible. He's going to have to fight it in order to get done what he needs to get done to help people. It's that simple.
I'll even go so far. Folks, I swear to you, I can't even begin to tell you how many events that I've been to where I've seen him, the things that I've read, the books that I've read of his. And I'm telling you right now that I saw one where this was live at an event. There was a woman in her 60s.
Okay.
And she was a lesbian or whatnot. I mean, she'd never been with a man, nothing. And he brought her up on stage. He straightened her out.
Wait, what do you mean by straightened her out?
He straightened her out.
You mean like made her straight?
on stage.
Oh, come on. You know the LGBT crowd is going to have a coronary.
This was back in the early 2000s.
Hey, you're a lesbian? I'm going to get your mind right.
He talked to her. He talked to her about her childhood and a lot of trauma that went on, and round the room, went around the trees and through the woods, and all of a sudden came out to where she started talking about and breaking down in tears about how she wanted children, how she wanted a family, how she, she'd never had been with.
There's in vitro fertilization.
She had never been with a man, and she feels like her whole life is over with. And Tony said, well, the kid thing probably, but no, you got to get to living.
Oh, wow. So turned her into a lesbian into a straight woman.
Pretty much. It is.
Somebody needs to find that clip.
For those of you who are listening for the first time, I'm just saying, Anthony Robbins he's in deep.
All right.
Okay, here's the rest of that clip.
And I'm not suggesting you have to agree with me. I'm just suggesting you consider what its impact is.
Right.
Okay.
No, that's true. He's a really brilliant guy, and he knows how to articulate what the problem is, what it's causing, and how to fix it, and maybe even multiple different ways to fix it, and then what is going to be the long-term impact of fixing it. Like, that's what he does, and he's really good at it. And he's really, and I agree with what he's saying, and he does a better job of articulating it than I ever could. That's why he's making millions of dollars on stage, because he gets that message through to people very well.
Look at these people and see what is empowerment. Anger is not empowerment. What you're seeing is people making themselves significant by making somebody else wrong and getting certainty. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just won't make you happy.
Right. He's talking about happiness. Folks, listen. You going back, and this is something that I had to learn. It's something that was like the number one thing I had to learn for my paradigm shift, for me to get out of victimhood status, was to realize that the people who have done you wrong, and when you're laying in bed at night and you're going over that movie in your head of the people who've done you wrong and what you want to do to them because they've wronged you, that your brain sends off a bit of a chemical that gives you a little brief high that people get addicted to. And that addiction to that high circles around, and you keep on keeping on, and you keep on that road and running it over and running it over. And the famous saying is, that is equivalent to me drinking a bottle of poison in the hopes that my enemy will die.
Oh, that's pretty stupid.
That is, when we say Donald Trump lives rent free in the minds of these people. Mm-hmm. And it goes over and over, and they think about what they want to do to him. The anger, and it just goes, and it's a meat grinder.
Well, they think that they're actually going to end up poisoning Trump politically anyway, but
and then you got the witches. As soon as Donald Trump was elected, all the Wiccan witches came together, said they're going to put a spell on him. They're going to do it's a crazy nonsense. So what Tony Robbins is talking about, the Me Too movement, that most, not all, that most,
a vast majority.
You trying to take your hate and your anger, your victimization, your pain, taking your pain and lashing it out on somebody else in the hopes of you finding retribution, justice, revenge.
That it's somehow going to make you feel better or something, which, by the way, you're not going to get revenge.
Carrie's gonna die. I'm gonna drink the cool. I'm drinking the lemonade.
Lemonade.
Okay.
Well, can I mention something real quick? This is the first time I've seen this version of the video. There's a social justice warrior video going around.
I got that.
Yeah, that I didn't realize was that well cut up. it's brilliantly cut up because it looks and sounds really damning. But when I'm watching this version where there's the context, the sentences that he's saying in between the clips that were cut out for the social justice warriors, there is good context here.
They cut that. They take the social justice warrior clip, and when Tony is speaking, they cut it, no sound of him, and they write on the video his words, and they put their own commentary into it.
Well, the one that I saw was his words, and I could see him speaking, but he says things in between those little segments that are incredibly good and valuable, I think, that you just listened to. You just listened to it in the clip that Brian just played. So I'm glad to have heard this version because he's right. But I thought in the context of me reading his books, I knew he was right. It's just that you didn't hear him say why he's right on the social justice warrior version. On this is the Tony Robbins I know, which is telling you why it's wrong to...
Well, using logic, Carrie. If you are angry at me, does it fix our relationship if you go ahead and punch me in the throat?
Well, no, I would think that would make it worse. But maybe a lot of people would say, well, some justice was served then because you were punished for doing me wrong.
So now, since I was violently attacked, I will now see the errors of my ways.
Sometimes.
I will come around. I'll come around the mulberry bush and we'll have a kumbaya moment.
But the
that
analogy,
doesn't work.
The analogy you used before was that I punish myself
in the hopes of getting me back.
Right, like poisoning myself, drinking the poison, hoping that it kills you or something like that.
Right.
But that's what it ends up being. I know you think that somehow you're getting revenge, but whatever.
The resistance movement, it's same thing.
So toxic.
Same thing, very, very toxic.
Yeah. And the thing is there's people out there in the Me Too movement that are saying that these are survivors of domestic abuse. There are people out there that were in very violent situations. Maybe they were beaten as a spouse for years and years, or whatever.
As a child, or
as a wife, or whatever. And that's true. You could say that those people are survivors of sexual violence, or maybe you were raped, like violently raped and all that. But you know what? I'm not seeing those people in the Me Too movement. I really am not. If you want to present them to me, I will not only gladly, I'll take a look at it or whatever, but I'll also totally acknowledge that these people are survivors of domestic abuse or sexual abuse or whatever. And that's true. But that's not what the Me Too movement has presented itself as. The Me Too movement has presented itself as people who were subject to unwanted advancements. And when I mean advancements, I don't mean, come here, I'm going to grab you in the blah, blah, blah. No. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here, perfect example. Terry Crews.
I was going to bring it up.
Terry Crews was grabbed.
He's a survivor.
In the package.
The package checked, yeah.
This grabbing of the package was completely out of the blue. And it was not consensual at all. It was
unwarranted. It was unwarranted. He's a straight man, and his wife was with him.
It was done without his consent. However, anybody who tries to tell me that Terry Crews, either himself or anybody who witnessed this, thought that his life was in peril, that survival was in question in this thing, you know what? You are minimizing not only survivors of real sexual abuse and when I mean real, I mean where life is in danger. Yeah. You're trivializing situations where people could actually die. You're trivializing.
What about
period.
that girl who was kidnapped and forced?
Elizabeth Smart.
Yeah,
her life was absolutely hanging by a thread.
She's a survivor.
She's a survivor, absolutely. Or survivors of things that aren't related to sexual abuse. It could be cancer survivors, World War II survivors, 9/11. If you survived 9/11, if you were in Manhattan on 9/11,
Ground Zero,
Pearl Harbor, whatever, you are a survivor, and hats off to you. If somebody, and by the way, this was very common in the Me Too movement. I said no to a guy that asked me on a date, and he just kept on asking.
He kept pushing.
He kept on asking me. He kept on calling me. I had to block him. You are not a survivor.
You're not a victim either.
Well, I'll get. If you want to take victimhood status, fine. But Anthony Robbins would say you need to work on that.
Right.
You need to work.
You may want to have victim status.
So I just want to point that out, and I'm done with it. I'm not going to let my daughter go down the road of having a man or a boy or whatever approach her and be very maybe vigilant in his pursuit of her, and her become a victim. Start to say that I survived it. I survived this boy who he really wanted to date me, really wanted to go out with me, really wanted a relationship with me, and he just wouldn't take no for an answer, so he kept on calling me, and he kept on pursuing me, and he started making sexual innuendo around me in public. You're not a victim, and you're not a survivor. You need to just be a little bit more vigilant and just make sure that your no continues, whatever.
So just a little bit more of Anthony Robbins.
It won't make them better, it won't make you better. And oh, by the way, what did Jesus say regardless of where
he's bringing up Jesus.
Anybody, you don't have to be Jesus. But
he said it could be Jesus, and then he it could be anybody. It doesn't have to be Jesus. Like he caught himself saying, he's like,
I don't want to. I know there's a lot of
I'm in San Jose, California. I forgot. I thought I was in the Midwest.
Right.
Oopsie.
Like he had to catch himself. Because that's San Jose. That's San Jose.
Who should throw the stone? You shouldn't do that stone if you live in a fucking glass house. Is there anyone
Sorry, thought I bleeped that out, folks.
Good job, Mr. Producer.
Embarrassed by, or was hurtfully intended to. Who here has never done anything of that nature in your life? Raise your hand.
You think about that. Okay, think about that for a second, folks.
Explain that one to me. Recap that one.
First off, those in glass houses don't throw rocks. Right. Okay. For all of those that know me really well, like Carrie, and for those of you who just see us on a scope, I don't want to let you down or anything, but I've done things that I probably should have done. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Brian's not allowed to wear a white dress anymore.
Dude, no white dresses here, and I probably made some people upset.
Did you break your glass house?
I had to move out and just hang out in the treehouse. I was no longer allowed in the glass house.
We're all with sin, just some more than others.
My point being, you've harmed somebody in one form, fashion, or another in the sense that they have felt, and you may not even know how bad you've hurt people. Like, you may have hurt somebody, and you
definitely
don't
subject to that.
Realize, because of the way that they internalize it. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with you. Don't get a big head thinking you're destroying lives out there, but the way they internalize it, and the way it hurt them, the way this and that, and all of a sudden they've gained some type of victimhood status because of you. You either knew it or didn't know it. I know it for a fact. There's a couple probably people that maybe think that, whatever. But I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that I've said things to that they probably took it and I didn't know it.
I know I can't run for president.
Right, exactly. But here's the point. The point is that me claiming victimhood status when I've probably victimized somebody at some point in time in my life, it doesn't equate. That does not work. You're throwing stones and you live in a glass house, meaning no one is without sin. So for the Me Too movement that we were talking about, the people that did, I was so wronged, I was so hurt, he made me cry. What guy has not made a girl cry? What guy has not cried because of a girl? I'm just saying. So now do they belong to the Me Too movement? I've survived? No, that's life, man. That's life. Anyways, that was my little bit on that part, the glass stones.
One liar. Thank you.
Oh, that's one person didn't raise their hand. He said, "Oh, there's one liar right there." Just one person raised their hand.
So I'm not knocking the Me Too movement. I'm knocking victimhood. If you use the Me Too movement to try to get significance and certainty by attacking and destroying someone else, you haven't grown an ounce. All you've done is basically use a drug called significance to make yourself feel good.
That's a rough comment, and that's the thing. You gotta be brutally honest if you're going to do any improvement or growing. What is that when you
need a paradigm shift?
Well, when you, like, if you want to go to Alcohol Anonymous or whatever, like, the first step is to admit that you have a problem, and that could be a brutal experience, right?
Right.
And so, he really laid the gauntlet down there.
That comment right there.
That was the trigger.
That was the trigger, and it's exactly what I just said 10 minutes ago.
Oh, no, he didn't.
When I said that people get addicted to that adrenaline drug. They get addicted to that drug when they think about and mull over the anger and the hate. There's still one person. And, this is total irony. The service at church today, it was as if he watched this with me.
Okay.
And he is pastor was absolutely so on point.
So he's insensitive about women's
that I'm going to take
victimhood too.
I will, once I get the audio of the sermon, I'm definitely putting it up.
Really?
Yes, it was that good. But here's the whole point of it, though. There's somebody that I keep thinking about, and the person was a neighbor, and I've had to work through that to forget about revenge, and to forget about
that
trying
person
to
was a very bad person.
See, even Carrie. See, this I don't talk to Carrie about this because Carrie feeds into my wanting this to.
That person so deserved revenge.
See, I don't need to hear that. so the service today at church was families. Families. He has a part-time job at a funeral home. He said you would be shocked at how many families have 2 viewings. 2.
Okay.
It's almost half.
Why?
Almost 50% have to, because one person in the family and the other person in the family cannot be in the same room at the same time, even in death, because of a death.
That is such a lack of respect for the life of the fallen.
It's the victimhood status that some people take on that they absolutely infect. Now, this is families. You've got to learn to deal with families in that sense. And he was talking about the church body and the church having to deal with each other in that sense. And there's a lot of reason why people hate churches, and a lot of it has to do with people. Nobody says, I hate church because I hate Jesus. They usually have an excuse why they hate church because I don't want to be a hypocrite, or this guy said this to me, or
because
he's making me feel guilty.
If I walk into the church, it'll burn down.
Yeah, I used to say that as a kid. I used to say that. So, but the thing is, in the sermon, he said, which Anthony Robbins kind of alludes to, but doesn't really get to, is that you have to start by forgiving the wrongdoer, and you've got to allow Jesus and God to get the revenge. You got to give them up to get the justice.
Because they're so vengeance-filled.
No, but it's not about you. If you attempt to get justice, you will wreck yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
The anger and the hate that you have inside, it will prematurely. That's where a lot of the diseases and a lot of problems come from. Is this anger and this hate and this wretchedness. If you ever look at somebody that there's this person at work that looks like I can't believe they're still working. I'm like, why aren't you retired? Well, I'm 70 or something. Retired? So I just turned 50, you punk.
What?
Dude's wretchedly angry.
Oh,
dude's
wow.
wretchedly. Well, and he also smokes about 2 packs a day. But anyways,
what I would recommend, and I think that everybody should do this. This will be your homework assignment for everybody listening. Write a letter to the person that's just been. Oh, you feel like you need to get revenge on they did you so wrong. And write a letter telling them that you forgive them for all the wrong that they did to you.
Jesus forgave you before you were even born.
Okay.
And he forgave the soldiers that killed him. He forgave the guys that killed him.
But isn't it?
And he forgave you, so he took the first step. So you take, I know it's hard. You're like, damn it, Brian.
But hold on, it's just me, but isn't it kind of a passive aggressive slap in the face of somebody when you tell them that you forgive them for how much of a jerk they were?
Who's got control?
I don't know. Who does that?
Excuse me? If I approach somebody, like the mortal enemy, I approach them and I say, you know what? I'm just going to give you a heads up, man. I've thought long and hard about this, and I've prayed about this. And I'm at a point in time in my life where it's time for me to move on with this, and I can't harbor this anymore. And I have completely and utterly forgiving you. I'm forgiving you for everything. And I'm letting it go, and I'm walking away, man.
Well, it's definitely out of your hands.
Who's got the control? You have the control. The Me Too movement,
that was your decision.
They don't want you to have the control. They want you to have the victimhood status because that victimhood status keeps the anger and the anguish and the hate and all the. It's all the left. It's the Black Lives Matter. It's the tents on Wall Street. What the hell was that called?
So being upset with them is them living rent free in your head.
Yes, okay. and as the pastor said in church today, that will continue to sever your ties from God. You'll feel more distant and feel that closeness or the ability to talk to. You won't have that because that non-forgiving severs that tie in from you. But you can right that, fix that, and get the ties back. So we're talking about the Me Too movement and Anthony Robbins and this social justice warrior that just went so wrong on this video of what they say he thinks that he did.
Question or comment?
So my comment is that I hear you mischaracterizing the Me Too movement. Certainly there are people who are using it for their own personal devices.
Okay, she says you're mischaracterizing the Me Too movement, but yeah, there are some people mischaracterizing it.
But there are also a significant number of people who are using it not to relive whatever may or happen to them, but to make it safe for the young women.
Okay, so she's saying that it's not for some people are using the Me Too movement, but they're using it for the young women to let them know that it's safe to come out. And it's holding on to the victimhood status is what she's doing.
And I think you do the whole movement of the service by characterizing the way you have. I love you, so please.
I don't feel attacked in any way. I'm glad you did this. The reason I want to engage is because I don't want to be misinterpreted. You're using it differently than some other people. What I'm suggesting to you is it's easy to see when a person gets angry and attacks. Rarely, watch this. Come over here.
Okay, now here's where it happens. This is where Anthony Robbins brings her up on stage and says, I'm going to show you something. Come up here. I'm going to show you something. Now, this happens throughout all his events, throughout the 3-day events. He brings people up on stage all the time, and he makes a statement. He makes an example. He usually fixes somebody. He usually rights what's wrong. He does some magical things, if you will. And this is the moment.
Yes, please. Watch.
Okay, so for those of you who can't see this, he says, hold up your fist. And so she holds up her fist, and he then reaches out to her fist with a straight arm and starts to push her.
Why are you pushing back? I didn't tell you to push back. Why are you pushing back?
And now he's pushing her, and as he's pushing her across the stage, when I say gently, very calmly, very slowly.
He's just walking.
Right, walking, and he's
invading her space.
Right, she's resisting in a sense, but she's still moving backwards.
Why are you pushing so hard? So you're telling me that the harder I push, the more you're going to comply and I'm going to be safe.
The harder I push, the more you're going to comply and the more I'm going to be safe. No, that does not work. The more I push against Carrie, the more you push against your wife or your husband, the more that you fight back, the resistance, the more the resistance fights back, the more we will be compliant and not speak out. And the more they'll be safe. They may feel safe in a sense that they feel like they're winning this civil war, this battle. You know, when they called Tea Party members racist, sexist, bigot, homophobes, and you spat on a black congressman, they felt the power of pushing and crushing a group they didn't like. And it did make them feel safe temporarily for a moment. Mm-hmm. That's the here and now. That's the instant gratification. And we know that's bad. And that's what he's showing her.
Okay.
Says don't resist.
I don't give a fuck what Choker says.
Chopak. It's Guru. This Guru says, don't resist, never resist.
Oh, okay.
I know, Mr. Chopra. This has nothing to do with it. You're still resisting. She's still pushing on me. I've pointed out she's still pushing on me. Why is she still pushing? And when you push someone else, it doesn't make you more safe. It just makes them angry.
But it's awareness. It's not pushing.
In Hollywood, where most of this is the most intense, I have so many clients there.
I'll just tell you the story because it's kind of hard to hear. He talks about, okay, so he explains to her by her pushing, by the resistance, because they feel like they've been wronged, like the election was stolen from them. Mm-hmm. They feel like the election was stolen. So they're going to lash out and they're going to push back. And that pushing back does not fix the fact they lost. And that they're victims. You're like, Brian, how can they be victims? They just lost an election. No. Did you see the women and the soy boys at Hillary Clinton's convention center when it was announced that she conceded? You want to talk about bona fide victims?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my.
They were so victimized.
The last time I saw something of that nature was when Kim, only in video, and you can find it on YouTube.
Oh, I know what you're about to say.
When Kim Jong-il died in North Korea to give it to his son, when he died.
They were so upset.
The gnashing of the teeth, the tears, and well, they had him up on the shelf. They put him up on the shelf. That's what they did. But in this sense, when you're pushing back at something you don't want, you're going to get more of it, and it's never going to work itself out. And so that's what Anthony Robbins was saying. So the story that he just now came up with, he said, I work with a lot of people in L.A., a lot of big business owners, businessmen, and this one businessman that I work with, it's very wealthy, he said, I had an array, had 4 different people that I could hire. I needed to hire a new assistant, a new bigwig. I needed somebody. Could hire 4 different people. 3 of them were men, and 1 of them was a knockdown, drag-out, gorgeous, beautiful bombshell of a woman. He didn't say that, but he said it was a beautiful woman. Mm-hmm. I can only imagine. I've seen gorgeous women at work, and it can be distracting, especially if you're in a all male machine shop. It can be very distracting. So, anyways, the guy told Anthony Robbins, and he's telling the story to these people here. He said, I had to make the choice. I could not choose. She was well qualified, better qualified.
Better qualified. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't choose her because it would have been a huge distraction. It would have been a problem.
Well, it was a risk. He didn't say distraction. You got to be careful with that because I totally get the argument that it's not a woman, an attractive woman's responsibility to not be a distraction. Like
a lot of times,
ugly herself down or whatever.
And you're going to make yourself look as beautiful as possible to go to a job interview, of course.
Right. And like men make their hair look nice and make sure that they're dressed in a nice suit and tie and all that kind of stuff. So, men are doing the same thing, but there's a different dynamic going on with a woman where it's important for her to like really make herself look pretty, which is why they do the makeup and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, a woman, when you say that that they're a distraction, it's not necessarily their fault. But he did say that she's a risk.
It's a risk. It's a risk I couldn't take, so I had to hire somebody else.
Right.
You know what? That's a reality of life.
Right.
That is a checkup from the neck up.
That's not 100% putting it on the man or the men that she's going to be around. There's definitely two to tango on that front too. Where if a woman can sense that the man that she's working around, whether it's a subordinate or a I don't know, I'm right in the middle of a thought. I'll look at it in a second. If a woman picks up on that a man that she's working with or around or whatever is attracted to her, she could definitely use that to her advantage, and many do.
The guy that I tell you about, Gen X at work, he's up in the upper echelons of management. Mm-hmm. And his girlfriend just got hired on, and within a year.
But see, that's his girlfriend, so that's like
they didn't know each other before she got hired.
Oh, there we go. Interesting. And fraternization, anybody?
She's very, very young.
Okay.
In her early 20s, and he's 39. And so she's worked her way up within 9 months to where she is now she's got supervisor status.
Now, does he have a role in her rising through the ranks?
He's best friends with the owner and golfs with the boss.
Yikes. So that's a disaster.
And a lot of the older folks that have been there for 10, 15 years are through the roof and livid. They're absolutely livid. The folks have been there for a long time.
This whole thing's become a major problem.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So somebody had said that the woman that Anthony Robbins had up on stage said that if she didn't say anything, no one would be commenting on it. Now she's a leader in her own way. You know, I don't know if it's that she's a leader in her own way, but it's something that she was passionate about, something that she wanted to bring up. And she says in this clip, towards the end, I'm done with the clip, but towards the end of the clip, she tells Anthony, she's got Anthony on a pedestal. Like, she didn't use that word, but she says, you know, I love you. I love you. I know you're that, and just I support you. I'm there. And you can just see how she has him on the pedestal. And I'm telling you right now, Me Too movement, cut all of that out.
Well, let me see if you can address some of the criticism. So Jonathan,
I'm being criticized?
New York says it took courage to stand up and not accept the status quo. I'm proud of her.
Not accept the status quo. What's the status quo?
Victimhood, I guess. Next thing he said was it would have been easy not to say anything. That's true. There's probably women in that crowd, maybe men too, who were thinking the same thing, but just took the safe road and sat down.
Well, that's fine. She felt that Tony was characterizing the Me Too movement in the wrong way.
Right. And check this out. The same guy, same commenter said, everyone is talking about it. Doesn't that prove Anthony Robbins' point? Wasn't that his exact point? Is that people are using the Me Too movement as a way to elevate themselves.
Oh, yeah.
That was his exact point. And now you're saying everyone's talking about it. Case closed. I rest my case. Case closed.
Yeah, you should see the anger, the venom, the gnashing of the teeth, the anger that is just pouring out over this. And like I said, we never talked about it before, and I felt like I had to bring it up. We had a person, a folk on Twitter that tweeted out. He's at Smith Radio, and his tweet says, calling people survivors who were in situations where the feeling wasn't mutual.
Oh, that was me. I wrote that.
I said he was at Smith Radio.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear who. I was like, I wrote that.
Hey, you're famous. You're on Smith Radio.
He's talking about me right now. He's talking about me.
It wasn't mutual. Is disrespectful to all those who have ever been in an actual life-threatening situation. While some victims surely were, virtually all Me Too claims I heard were not. Hashtag hyperbole. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, and that's what Tony's talking about. And you got to wake up from the victimhood. You got to shed the clothes, get rid of it, forgive, and move on. Life's too short.
Yeah, I mean, my point is that, you know, if you're a victim of actual violence or we're in a life-threatening situation,
there's support groups out there.
Well, it's already, this has been something that we're all opposed to. And to sit there and act like if you're not on board with everything that the Me Too movement is about, that you are in favor of putting the lives of women in danger so that you can sexually assault them. Yeah, apparently you guys are horrible messaging, because that's not what the Me Too movement has been about. And the
coming after white men is not cool.
Or men in general. Cool. It's a war against men, basically. Right. All men.
They didn't talk about the one of the female Democrat politicians who actually had to resign because she fired a guy that worked for her because she wanted favors. She wanted something to happen, and he refused and said, I'm married. She fired him, and he sued. There's a woman, female Democrat politician. But you didn't hear about that? We don't even know her name. It's not hard to look it up.
Ready to move on from Tony Robbins?
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that's the most we've ever talked about Me Too movement. The whole thing is you know, we're raising the most empowered females on earth right now. And your two daughters, my daughter, they're going to be strong women.
The left are bullies.
Yeah.
And they're bullying friends of ours.
Okay.
Black females.
Okay.
Diamond and Silk.
Ah, here we go. They were bullied this week.
This is folks, if you didn't think that there wasn't something about, they don't care if you're black. They don't care if you're gay. They don't care they don't care nothing about you. All they care about is your vote. And if you're not on board, they will destroy you come hell or high water. All right?
Yeah, absolutely. And apparently they are, tell us how they're attacking them.
Okay, so Diamond and Silk. This comes directly from Diamond and Silk. If you don't know Diamond and Silk, you've been living on a rock. Very, very funny a black woman duo. And
one's always got a glass of wine.
And ain't that right? Mm-hmm. And one agrees with the other one. And it's funny. They got a shtick. And it is hysterical.
Yeah, it's good.
They voted for Obama both times, and they were done. They said black people, black Americans, have to get off the Democrat plantation.
Yeah.
You have to get off of it and get with Donald Trump. And so they've been outspoken for Donald Trump since, as far as I've ever known.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they posted up on Facebook. They're big into Facebook and I guess YouTube. And so on Facebook, they posted up, Diamond and Silk have been corresponding since September 7th, 2017 with Facebook, owned by Zuckerberg, who is in a little bit of hot trouble right now about their biased censorship and discrimination against Diamond and Silk brand page. Well, we all know this, folks. If you've been watching us and following us for long enough, you know why I'm not on Facebook.
You tried.
I've been
Brian tried.
I slayed that dragon so hard and so long.
You cannot fault him for not trying, because Brian, you slayed that dragon.
What I did in 3 months on Twitter with a campaign account, I couldn't do 9 months on Facebook. I was able to do it in 3 months on Twitter. It was wretched. Anyways, so finally, after several emails, chats, phone calls, appeals, beating around the bush, lies, and giving us the runaround, Facebook gave us another bogus reason why millions of people who have liked and or followed our page no longer receive notifications.
Well, that doesn't sound good. That sounds like some sort of a ban or restriction, if you will.
Does that sound familiar, Gary?
Well, yeah, it's been going on. We've been talking about this for...
You get my notifications when I go live on
Never.
You know, my wife...
There's a group of very, very popular people that I like the most that have never showed up on my notifications. I never get a notification from real Donald Trump. Never from Brian. The whole entire time I was on Your Voice America, which was 14 months. That's a year and 2 months. I never once got a notification that Bill Mitchell put a tweet out, and he had he had like 100 or more tweets a day. Never got one single notification from him. And there's a whole bunch. I have probably about maybe 25 or so people that I have on notification, and some of them I always get notification from.
Right.
But not the.
My wife set up a Twitter account and a Periscope account so that she could watch us and get. You know how she gets notification that my scope is going live?
An alarm.
No, she looks at the clock and it looks like it's about time for Brian to leave work.
Wow.
She doesn't get she doesn't get notifications of me anymore.
Yeah, like Katja, I get if she tweets.
I've never gotten one from her.
Oh, I always do. I always get from her. There's like Joey Manarino. I always get his notifications. There's a couple others that if you look at my phone,
I get Joey's. I do get Joey's.
There's several that if you go through my notifications, I get them every single time. But there's a group of people that I have on notifications I never get them from.
Right. So so it says that that the reason why millions of people who have liked or followed their page no longer receive notifications, and why our page, post, and video reach was reduced by a very large percentage.
So stupid.
Here is the reply from Facebook Thursday, April 5th, 2018 at 3:40 p.m. From Facebook. The policy team has come to the conclusion that your content and your brand has been determined unsafe to the community.
That is unbelievable. That is so outrageous. That diamond and silk. It's one thing. What a choice of words. Unsafe to the community. You would think that they were espousing some lines in the Quran or something.
They're talking about killings and lynchings,
or
and
that we need
out.
we need to try to convert to our form of religion, or else we need to kill them.
Right.
Jihad is whatever, or war is good. What are we talking about? Unsafe to the community. This is diamond and silk. I could imagine if they use the kind of terminology like, we just don't think that you're friendly to our community. They said the community.
Right.
They didn't say like the Facebook community. When they say the community, you think of like, your
neighbors. Yeah,
your neighborhood or whatever. That is really
Facebook
bad.
should report them to the FBI. They're a danger to the community.
They're unsafe.
Unsafe. Sorry.
I
gotta get my words right.
Liberals have totally commandeered the English language, the way we communicate, in a way that is so bad that I need to just cut liberals out of my life altogether. I need to completely ignore them in every way, shape, and form, because when you call somebody who is communicating, they're exercising their freedom of speech online in a virtual world where I can't even physically do any harm to you. When you call those people unsafe to the community, I don't know what language that is. What kind of danger? When I hear somebody say that you are unsafe to the community, that tells me that there could be damage to property or persons.
Life, limb, and
property. Life, limb, and property. What could she do on a Facebook page that could end up being deemed unsafe? I mean, come on. This type of language is making it impossible for us to live together any longer.
She says, question 1, what is unsafe about 2 black women supporting the President Donald Trump? That's that's what they're coming. So 6 months, 29 days, 5 hours, 40 minutes, and 43 seconds it took Facebook to render this to Diamond and Silk. This is unacceptable, and this is the situation that we're in. Also, Ted Cruz.
Oh, wait, don't move on yet. Oh, I was going to say,
go ahead.
You were just talking about what Facebook has deemed Diamond and Silk.
Right.
Did you hear about the Twitter CEO?
Oh, I did. It's in the show notes on page 2.
All right. Well, right along that same lines, Jack Dorsey has decided that civil war with Republicans or conservatives is the best way to go, or that it's inevitable. Something.
It was an article that he retweeted, or he tweeted out the article, and the article made the comment that here it is, right? Jack tweeted out the article, "Great read."
Okay, all right.
And Peter J. Hansen, a reporter at the Daily Caller, said, Twitter's CEO loves this article about driving conservatives from public life and turning the rest of the country into California in the new Civil War. Literally, that's what it's about.
Oh, here we go. Right here. The Great Lesson of California and America's New Civil War. That's the title of the article that Jack Dorsey called a great read.
And so Jack responded. Jack actually replied to Peter Hansen and said, "Where did I say love?"
Referring to Peter accusing him of loving the
article.
idea about Civil War.
What'd I say love?
He's basically backtracking. The problem is when you call it a great read, that if you're not going to say why you think it's a great read, because I might say, hey, this is required reading because you need to know thy enemy.
Right.
You know, I would put that caveat in there. For him to just say great read is a blind endorsement, right? I mean, he is flat out endorsing this
I would
article.
say the books that I've purchased recently, like the book Thump, that is a great read for kids.
Well, here's the subtitle to that article. Why there's no bipartisan way forward at this juncture in our history. One side must win. So it sounds like we are in a battle to the death.
And when you go through the whole article, they talk about California as being the example of what the rest of the country has to submit to.
That's
California.
ridiculous.
But they don't actually go into the article and talk about the tens of thousands of people that have flooded out of California because of the taxes, because of the housing, because of everything liberal in California.
So, and just the reason we're talking about this, we're still on the same page. We didn't lose our place here. Jack Dorsey is the CEO of Twitter, who is the guy who makes the policy there. And we're talking about,
or at least approves it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, whatever he says goes as far as policy is concerned. We had Diamond and Silk being called unsafe on another giant monopoly of a social media monopoly, Facebook. And now we have Jack Dorsey talking about how the way you deal with conservatives is to fight to the death. One side must win.
Well, Kerry, he said he didn't love it.
He's backtracking, but here's the thing. We got people that are being censored left and right, and an organization has been formed called Right to Walk Out.
Right to Walk Out.
So this is, you can find this at righttowalkout.com or r2wo.com. And basically on what they're advocating for is on April 21st and 22nd, they're admitting that these I'm having trouble speaking. The monopolies have a right to censor you. They have a right to ban you. They have a right to shadow ban you and to demonetize you. And we're talking about Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, which is owned by Google. And that we have the right to walk out. And so that's where Right to Walk Out comes from. And so on April 21st and 22nd, they are advocating for everybody possible to go ahead and support this and to show solidarity against the abuses of these social medias by participating in the walkout, which is what? To not log in during these 2 days.
And 48 hours?
And right before you log out for the 48 hours.
Oh, hashtag.
You can hashtag all week.
Yeah.
What you need to do is replace your profile picture and your banner with just a black JPEG. And these JPEGs are actually available on the website. So you can download the black, just a plain black JPEG. Box that you can upload as your profile and upload as your banner. And before you do that, I would highly recommend, they also have the R2WO the branding that you can post on your profile too, just to get the word out for people to see up until then. And I think we should do it because
I'm starting to hyperventilate right now.
Oh, the withdrawal symptoms?
Yeah, I'm withdrawing.
You're already having withdrawal symptoms. Just thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm getting nervous.
Well,
my addiction is too strong.
I don't know what to tell you.
I need to call Tony. Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
I'll do it. I'll do it, folks. I'll do it. Absolutely. 100% I'll do it.
You talk for a minute while I look up the article real quick.
So as I will participate in the right to walk out, I absolutely think that this is an awesome opportunity to send a message back to these folks. I mean, it'd be a minute. It'd be just a day, couple day message, but at least we know we have the peace of mind of knowing that we got their attention. If nothing else, we've got their attention.
I'm looking for the article. Sorry.
Okay, why you do that?
Oh, here it is.
Oh, you got it?
Oh, if I can find the actual link to press on. Oh, there it is. So this is from populistwire.com. I highly recommend you follow those guys. It's one of those websites that give you real news, which is really hard to come by. It's so hard to find them, but that's one of them. So the title of the article is, "What if no one posted, quote, right to walk out, protests internet censorship April 21st and 22nd. The R2WO.com is organizing a cyber walkout of Twitter, Google, Facebook, and YouTube, which YouTube and Google is the same thing, right? Yeah. To protest online censorship and mistreatment of conservative posters on April 21st and 22nd. Quote, the message we want to convey is that we are not willing to participate in or show support this behavior or to support this behavior, and will seek other platforms if necessary, according to the group's organizers. They are asking posters to refrain using the platforms that are known for discrimination of conservative Americans and others, and to find alternative sources for posting or staying off the internet altogether. And here's a quote from the website. Our mission is to demonstrate that without our ideas, without fundamental ideological differences, the power to create and share disappears. Conservatives and others oppressed by social media have a right and a duty to reclaim their free speech on social media platforms. We will no longer tolerate unfair and unequal treatment. And they have a video there you can watch. Awesome. That article was written by Carrie Donovan. And whatever her Twitter handle is, it's kind of got an error message.
She's not on Twitter anymore. She got an arrow 404. What?
404 error.
What happened?
I don't know.
No.
I tried. But if you type in, it's Kari Donovan. If you actually search that on Twitter, her handle pops up. But she's an author at the Populist Wire.
And so real quick, just to kind of somebody did a little anecdotal thing about Ted Cruz versus Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris this week thought it would be funny on the Ellen DeGenerate show.
DeGenerate?
Yeah.
Is that her name?
Ellen DeGenerate, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was on Ellen's show, and Ellen said, she's a black woman out of California, a liberal Democrat who is infected with liberalism to the fourth degree, to the point of projection. There's no turning back.
Hold on real quick. Somebody said that we're going back to R2WO real quick. Somebody said the NFL did not go out of business with a boycott. They were heavily punished, and they
were hurt.
Felt the pain.
Yes.
They felt the pain hardcore, and they've actually had to do things to combat what ended up being, for the most part, a boycott. Right. So they're not going out of business. The R2WO, I don't think, is advocating for sending them out of business. It's just they have to.
And if you stop using
people.
the app for 2 days, and nobody's going out of business.
No, that's not the point.
Right.
No. Anyway, go back to. Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, Kamala Harris on Ellen DeGenerate show. Ellen said to Kamala, "Hey, if you were stuck in an elevator, who would you rather be stuck in the elevator with? Donald Trump, Mike Pence, or I think Paul Ryan, something else?" And she laughed. Do they have to come out alive?
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
What?
You can't talk like that about the president of the United States.
Or the vice president or the speaker of the House.
The left and the Democrats, everybody in the Democrat Party that get any airtime whatsoever, they have no respect for America and no respect for the office of the presidency. Right. No respect for anything, no respect for the Second Amendment. Here's the thing, real quick about that. Why is it that they demand all these gun laws, but they'll never, ever talk about actually amending the Constitution, amending the Bill of Rights to change the Second Amendment to reflect what they feel it should say? Why? Because they don't even have enough respect for the Bill of Rights to even go through the damn process and do it right.
Right. No, not at all. So this is kind of interesting. Kamala Harris versus Ted Cruz. Somebody put this together, and it is very interesting. It's just real quick, anecdotal, but Ted Cruz has 3.2 million followers.
Okay.
Pretty good following there.
He was a front runner.
Oh, that's right.
Not a front runner, but he was a serious contender for the Republican nominee for president of the United States.
First place loser. Yeah.
Yeah. First. What do they call it? Runner up.
Runner up.
Man.
And so
he ran up.
So 3.2 million followers. Kamala Harris, 1.5 million.
Okay.
So about half, more than half.
I thought it was a joke when somebody said Kamala Harris for president. When I heard the name Kamala Harris, I honestly thought it was an MSNBC anchor.
They've been floating her name for president. Yeah,
I know. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so she's got 1.5, which is more than half of Ted Cruz. Cruz's tweets garnered 259 retweets.
Okay.
90 retweets, 62 retweets, and 416. So there's four tweets. 259, 90, 62, 416.
Okay.
They didn't talk about the content of the tweet, which is important.
Mm-hmm.
But Kamala Harris's last four tweets, 1,800, 1,300, 981, and 4,000.
Okay.
So the article is wondering is if Ted Cruz was on a shadow ban.
Interesting. Okay. I'm with you.
Because she's garnering a huge.
Way bigger
numbers.
What is it percentage?
Huge numbers. 300%, 400% more?
400 or 500% more, yeah.
Than Ted Cruz, and yet he has more than double the followers that she has. There's a lot of technicalities involved in that.
There's a lot going on there. Like, first of all,
you can buy it.
Well, I'm not accusing Cruz of that, but Cruz has a giant following from back when he was running, and it is true that if you, I'll give you a perfect example. Glenn Beck is a great example. I don't remember the exact number, but he has a ginormous amount of followers.
Just over 1 million. Just over 1 million.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's still big. If you're, I think if you're over, I think if you're over 350,000, you're like legit celebrity. So he has this huge, giant following, but he has very, very low activity on his tweets. That's because his big claim to fame happened a while ago, and so a lot of his following is not as engaged with him as it used to be. What do you have in mind? 1.2 million. So Glenn Beck has 1.2 million followers, but he doesn't get the kind of engagement because his following came to him a long time ago, so they're not as engaged.
Okay, so what was the 6th? 2 days ago? Yeah, 2 days ago was the 6th.
Okay, that was his last tweet.
His last tweet had something to do, hashtag Jeffrey Goldberg, something or other, boom, I don't know.
Whatever, it has a picture.
126 likes.
And only
33 retweets and 12 comments.
Now that sounds really, really bad, but there's a lot of dynamics that goes on in Twitter that you learn if you're on it every day and you actually observe these numbers. And a big part of Glenn's following were people that jumped on board a long time ago, and they're either still following, but they're just engaged in other things. I was a huge Glenn Beck fan. I'm nowhere near as engaged with him as I used to. Back in the Tea Party days, when he was on the Lincoln Memorial on Martin Luther King Day doing his Tea Party speech, I mean, that was it for him. And of course, that was when he got his following. So Cruz has a little bit more of a delayed following, from back in the day than Kamala Harris. I think a lot of her following.
Who is she?
Well, she
most people wouldn't be able to tell you.
She's a congresswoman. She's a congresswoman.
But most people wouldn't know that.
I didn't know that until recently either. She's a California congresswoman, and she is being talked about as being a runner for the presidency in 2020. That being said, probably a very huge number of followers of her total are recent, very recent, because they're probably like, what? Kamala Harris, who's that? I want to find out who this is. Everybody talking about her running for president in 2020 against Donald Trump. We got to start following her. So a lot of her engagement is going to be now.
Right. Well, like this one tweet that he tweeted out March 29th, the future is exciting and unrecognizable. It's an article about this virtual wearable AR prototype. It's kind of cool. Kind of a neat virtual reality article.
And this is Glenn Beck.
From the 29th of March.
Wow, he's not not very active on Twitter.
77 likes.
And that's part of it too. A big part of his lack of activity in his tweets is that he doesn't even tweet that very often.
No. So I'm just throwing that out there. It's kind of strange, but I mean, they're doing it to everybody. Why wouldn't they do it to? And Ted Cruz was just up for a re-election, right? No.
You know what? You're asking the wrong person. I don't even follow him anymore.
Texas.
Yeah, Texas. We got a follower that keeps us up to speed on what's happening in Texas all the time. So I tend to lean on him a little bit more.
My goodness, look at the time.
We're out of time. No, we got time. Let's get through.
Time.
Hey, lightning round, buddy.
Okay.
Lightning round. We got lightning round coming up for you. Make sure you guys are sharing this, and make sure you guys are following us on Twitter. It's at Smith Radio. Don't forget the spelling, SmythRadio, and also Brian P. Smith, which if you are watching us right now, that is the handle of the Twitter show right now. Starting next week, hopefully, we're going to be on Vimeo full time. Right?
That's the goal. I'm working with it. Still trying to get up to par. Trying to figure out
that's a dragon you got to slay.
I'm slaying the dragons, trying to figure it out, folks. A little technical issues, but we're getting into Mueller investigation, fake investigation. We've got some more people coming up.
You're going to have to be concise on this because I will lose track.
We're going to go light on it.
When it comes to Mueller, I'm just like,
I'm not going to get too deep.
Eyes glaze over.
Right. I'm not going to get deep at all. We're going to go right over the. I'm just letting you know that there's some new developments that have come out with the Mueller investigation, Mueller-Trump collusion. By the way, there is no law, and not that I just learned this, and not that you've learned this, but when I say it, you'd be like, yeah, you're right, Brian. There is no law that makes collusion illegal.
Okay. They're trying to make it, well, first of all, they're trying to lie to the public to make it sound like it's illegal.
It'll wreck your political career if you collude with the wrong people.
Well, the whole point is that the vote, democracy in America is supposed to be the citizens of America deciding who leads them, and it makes people uneasy to hear that people outside of the U.S. and non-U.S. citizens had an influence on who leads them. So I totally get it. What you don't get if you think that Trump was colluding with a foreign entity in order to help him get elected, what you don't realize is that what actually happened was that the Democrats are colluding with all kinds of foreign entities to prevent conservatives from leading us. It's as simple as that.
You know, I'm sorry, folks. I just looked at the message board, and I'm beside myself that we still have people believing that Donald Trump is dividing America to make money and launch his brand. I thought we were past that.
Whatever.
I thought we were past that. Anyways, let those people go. So Dick Morris, who is good peeps with the Clintons, is Bill Clinton is very against Hillary Clinton, the deep state, and he's very angry about a lot of things going on. So here's Rod Rosenstein, Deputy AG. This is something that just came out this week. Who's Rod Rosenstein's wife?
You've probably seen my videos where I've been very critical of Rod Rosenstein, who is the Deputy Attorney General, on whom the power to oversee and appoint Mueller devolved when Sessions recused himself from that investigation.
Okay, so Jeff Sessions recused himself from the Russia involvement. So the deputy attorney general took over and said, I'll take that, Jeff. Don't worry about this.
Right.
And but I was absolutely blown away when a friend emailed me that his wife was Lisa Barsunian.
Who's that?
Yeah.
She is a Freedom of Information Act lawyer
Okay.
who largely defends against suits brought by groups such as Judicial Watch and other conservative groups.
Okay, so what she does when Judicial Watch asks for a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, she gets involved to shoot it down.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Produced documents from the Clinton and then the Obama administration. Her firm, headed by R. Craig Lawrence, works for Democrats only, and it's incredible. They've represented Obama 40 times, Bill Clinton about as often, Hillary Clinton 17 times, Kathleen Sebelius 16 times, even represented Mueller himself on 3 occasions.
It seems like
and
a problem.
Her husband is the one that appointed Mueller and supervises him. The tentacles of the deep state run all over the place, and this one really is surprising. Thanks for watching.
So the person who appointed Mueller, Mueller was best buddies with James Comey and absolutely hates Donald Trump. The person who appointed Mueller was the deputy attorney general, whose wife is a lawyer for the Obamas, the Bill Clinton, represented Obama 47 times, represented Bill Clinton 40 times, represented Hillary Clinton 17 times, even represented Mueller himself. The guy who appointed Mueller, his wife represented Mueller 4 different times.
Sounds like sounds pretty corrupt.
I'm really corrupt.
Wow.
So as Dick Morris says, the tentacles run deep. It's wretched, wretched. And then this breaking, the what is that? Inspector General is going to launch an investigation. Alleged FBI confidential source. Additionally, the OIG will review the DOJ and the FBI's relationship. What that means is that there is now an investigation that's being launched to look into the FISA warrant abuse scandal, to look into Lisa Page, Carter Page, and Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. It's too many Strzoks and Pages running around. To look into them and their relationship as well as other people. They're reviewing the information and to determine what the DOJ knew and what the FBI knew at the time that the applications were filed, whether they knew about Christopher Steele's ties. I mean, it's a full-blown investigation trying to figure out what these people knew at the time they knew it. And we found out this week, too, Manafort, that warrant to raid his house in the middle of the night when he was sleeping in bed with his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came 7 days after the raid.
Yeah, I heard about that. How do people not? I mean, basically what it boils down to is if you're working in the high levels of government, you don't need to comply with the law unless somebody calls you out for breaking it. And if you are caught breaking it, all you have to do is retroactively fix it.
Well, what about your friend of yours? You ran into a situation where he said, go ahead, break the speed limit, do 100 mile an hour. And you're like, nah, man, I'll get a ticket. And he said, nah, man.
Oh, right. He said when, I know he's from, I think, New Hampshire. And he said, oh, I speed all over the place like crazy wild man. And because I know the governor there. And I said, well, that's fine. But we're in the motorcade for Trump.
We're in Ohio.
If I speed around, we're in Ohio and we're in the motorcade for Trump. If we get pulled over and you tried to call up our governor and get out of it, he'll probably make it double the fine. And he goes, oh, you mean Johnny Boy? Oh, we go way back. Oh, we're good friends. And I'm like, really? So I just stomped on it. Oh, I'm actually shocked I didn't get in a wreck because I cut through like 2 lanes while flooring it. And when I looked through the rearview mirror right after cutting 2 lanes off, and
Trump was waving his fist out the window at you.
No, we had already dropped everybody off. It was just an empty motorcade at this point. I looked in the rearview mirror and saw that somebody was right on my bumper, which means when I cut over 2 lanes, I damn near sideswiped him. Wow. He was there. He was already there.
So we have that going on, and then John Brennan came up this week. John Brennan, former CIA director, a really bad dude, absolutely in love with John McCain, Jeff Flake, all the real deep state, claimed that to Donald Trump, claimed that, I served under Bush and Obama and Clinton. I'm bipartisan. I love all y'all.
Yeah.
But I hate you.
Yeah, the uniparty. The uniparty versus Trump and we the people is basically
so
what it
he may
boils
be
down
in,
to.
well, not maybe. From what I've seen, he's in a lot of trouble for perjury. He lied under oath. They've just got to go through the steps, and Jeff Sessions working the wheels, and things just have to. I know it's going slow, and I know a lot of people are complaining about the timeline, the time frame, but you've got to be patient. These things are happening, and they're happening. Once it's all done, it will come down like a snowball, and you'll be like, man, where'd that come from? That's because they've been working on this day and night since day one. So they've got Brennan where he lied under oath about the dossier. He said he had no idea where it came from, didn't know about it, wasn't.
Whatever.
Yeah, and come to find out,
bunch of liars.
Come to find out, he does. And so, in his May 2017 testimony before intelligence panel, Brennan emphatically denied the dossier factored into the intelligence community publicly released conclusion last year that Russian meddled in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump's chances of victory. He said under oath that the dossier had no bearing on our decision whatsoever in the Trump-Russia collusion, which technically isn't even illegal. And now they're looking at Manafort, which it's illegal what they did to Manafort. They're looking at Manafort, and all they can find is some stuff he did way back in the day.
Yeah, they're trying to say that he didn't file for foreign agent or something crazy like that for his involvement with some lobbying things that he was doing, which I learned today. They did on the interwebs about how that works. Basically, it was a law that was written back in the 30s because there were lobbyists in America who were being paid by the Nazis in Germany,
of course,
to lobby for certain policies of our to our congressmen and whatnot and our different elected officials, which wasn't illegal at all there. But they decided, well, if that's going to happen, if we're going to have foreign influence, then the public needs to know about it. So you need to file as a foreign agent if you do so. So if you're a retired senator, let's say you're out of Senate, you're done.
Right.
You decide I'm gonna start being a lobbyist. If the Nazis come to you back in the 30s and say, hey, we're going to pay you $2 million. We want you to push this policy in America for us. That's allowed. But at the time you could have kept that secret. But now you have to file as a foreign agent.
Okay.
And then you can lobby for the Nazis.
Sounds to me like a technicality.
Yeah, so apparently there was something where money exchanged hands, which would normally not be illegal, but because he didn't file for foreign agent status, that could end up being a problem.
Right.
I don't know how often that little thing gets overlooked. The Democrats, whether or not they're filing for their foreign status or not, are heavily, heavily involved with foreign meddling, particularly the UK. Aren't they the ones that wrote the dossier?
Yes.
I mean, the UK's got more influence over the Democrat Party in America than I don't think any other.
No.
It's ridiculous.
It's
so
amazing. So real quick, back to Brennan. Brennan also, John Brennan, former CIA director, also swore that he did not know who commissioned the dossier, even though senior national security and counterintelligence officials at the Justice Department and FBI knew the previous year dossier was funded by Hillary Clinton campaign.
So he lied.
Oh, if he didn't lie, he's the only one who didn't know.
Hey,
he's the only one.
Some people are just left out of the loop.
The director, the head honcho.
If the glove don't fit,
you must have quit.
You got to have the Chewbacca defense.
Yes,
I'm telling you, man.
The 10.
Call me up, I'll defend you. Got to go get my bar exam.
Why does a 7-foot tall Wookiee live on a planet Endor with 4-foot Ewoks? That don't make no sense. Well, you must have quit.
Oh, there you go. I like that defense.
That is a really good defense. One thing real quick, the lightning round, wrap it up. Cybersecurity fiasco.
Mm-hmm.
Interior Department computers trying to talk to Russia, inspectors say. Well,
what do you mean trying? How does a computer try to
Back during Obama's reign, we heard about breaking into the computers. China hacked the computers multiple times. All kinds of cyber attacks and break-ins on government computers, on the White House, intelligence, CIA, everywhere.
Okay.
It was running rampant. Well, they're saying now, after all those years of trying to fix it, there are rogue malware infections that are attempting to shoot out and talk to other countries still, and they can't get a hold of it. And this weekend, I was hanging out with a good friend of ours from the DOD. That's the Department of Defense. And he just was talking about his job and complaining that everybody in his whole department, he says he spends at least out of an 8-hour day, he says he wastes at least 3 hours, 4 hours a day on computer problems. Computer slowdown, computer not pick up and drag and drop, download, wait,
they need
click,
to switch
glitch.
to Apple.
I just
switch to Apple, people.
And this is I was reading this article and he came up and told me he had no idea.
No, I didn't know. Didn't know.
I know either. So Trump's having to battle this too. Folks, Trump is battling.
Problem is the deep state is just so slow, so incompetent, so corrupt, so wasteful. I mean, this is par for the course.
Right. And thank you, Mexico. Trump tweets out, thank you, Mexico, for intervening and shutting down the caravan of thousands and sending them back home or disbanding them or whatever it be.
So did you hear about the border crossing policy? So basically, this is the way it works.
It's a new policy?
No, it's always been there.
Okay.
And Trump is starting to realize this and realizing, and I'm glad that it's been brought up because it starts to it makes you realize how important a physical wall is. And this is the policy. If they get their foot on American sand, all they have to do is dive for it like you're going for the end zone. It's there. You touch American soil, and that's it. You are totally safe. You're home free.
Right.
Not really home. I mean, home will be the other way. But that's it. You're here. And what will happen is they will detain you, and they will give you a court date. They say those court dates could be upwards of 12 months or more into the future.
Years.
You are let free while you're waiting for your court date, and you're free in America awaiting your court date. And check this out. You don't have to show. I mean, legally, you're supposed to show up. But if you don't show up, you're just an illegal immigrant in America.
Right.
And that's how you get to stay.
And if you get pregnant and have a baby, that baby's a citizen.
Oh, you are never leaving.
Right.
You will never have to leave.
I reported this week Jeff Sessions is slashing away at that, knocking that down, literally with a machete going through the jungle.
I'm hoping.
He's hiring 100 more lawyers than he did last year.
1,000.
I know. Then last year, he's hiring 100 more than last year. And he's forcing all judges, you must go through 600 cases a year. Mandatory.
Good. They did something similar with the VA. VA, you'd be sitting on a waiting list for months and months. Now, if they can't get you in within 30 days, they immediately tell you are eligible for any private practice.
They're going out. Go get hooked up.
Yeah, so there you go.
So for those of you that naysaying on Jeff Sessions, I'm telling you, man, Jeff Sessions is working hard, and forget about these goofballs that are talking about, who were they saying that they had to fire? Pruitt? Somebody say fire Pruitt? No, man, come on.
What about John Bolton?
John Bolton doing a good job.
We're in a holding pattern for him.
Scott, that's it. Scott Pruitt.
Yeah.
Donald Trump tweeted out, while Secretary spending was somewhat more than his
security spending.
Security was somewhat more than his predecessor. Scott Pruitt has received death threats because of his bold actions at the EPA. Record clean air and water while saving U.S. billions of dollars. Rent was about market rate. Travel expenses, okay. Scott is doing a great job.
So that's like he literally gave you his report card on Scott Pruitt.
Yeah. People are trying to fire him because he said he was living in a house and it was low rent and he got a deal. It's under.
Well, they said death threats because of his bold actions. EPA, environmental terrorism. Anybody heard of that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you right now, if you are one of these global warming people, there's terrorists on your side. It's as simple as that.
What about that? We reported about that one senator who was who got millions of dollars worth of stuff, and they said no, they were gifts. He was like a brother. They were like brothers.
Okay.
They were
All
gifts. Right. So Democrats get away with that, and Scott Pruitt can't get a deal on some rent. Anyways, Donald Trump making it good. His tweets are just absolutely triggering people. I'm not worried about this China deal. I honestly think that Trump is tweeting out about China because he's got something going on that he don't want people looking at right now.
I think the lack of explanation on what exactly it means to be in a trade war tells me that we're being gaslighted. I really believe that.
Yeah. Well, I told my brother, because he asked me all this stuff. I said, man, you got to rip the Band-Aid off. It's going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, they were saying there's going to be some pain in the meantime. Like, for instance, if subsidies for certain industries have to end, then there's going to be some price adjustments, and the pain of that change is just got to happen. And the alternative is we let China continue to beat the hell out of us?
For the last 40 years of billions of dollars.
Yeah,
Come on now.
No.
We got to get this right. My Donald Trump making it right. That's about it for me. That's the fastest 3 hours, folks, you're going to spend anywhere in your life. I swear to you. Oh, every Sunday night, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Share this with your friends and your family, folks. This is Smith Radio, Military Veteran Talk Radio. Brian and Carrie Smith out.
See you guys next time.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.